They podcast regularly. Um, we did have the intention to debate, but I think his co-host is still. We're still waiting for him.
So okay,
We
okay,
were
we
running.
could just
Yeah.
address the elephant in the room there, especially when he's not here yet. Okay, so this is the funniest part about that, Jay. So
Yeah.
me and you agree. We're on the same page. Sasuke wins. Kamui's
Oh,
the
gotcha.
one who disagrees, but he
Oh,
has
I see.
yeah, yeah. It's realistically for me, I'm more of like a screenwriter than a power scaler, and for me,
Yeah.
it would just be more narratively significant for Sasuke to be stronger. I do have my own power scaling reasons as well, but again, since I'm less in the power scaling, it could lean either way power scaling for me, and I don't really care. Where I really care is the narrative, where I think Sasuke should be stronger. But that
Gotcha.
aside, that's my biggest reason. But like because of that, it's not going to be disingenuous when I'm arguing for Lee because I understand Kamwi's points. In fact, I help him come up with some of his points that I think are some. Okay, okay. So this is a funny thing.
Gotcha.
Uh, so y'all were saying last podcast, because I did watch last podcast that we were
Yeah.
planning to debate, and so some of the stuff you were saying was kind of funny about you kind of know that when you're talking walkie talkie, there's a certain level of ridiculousness and antics that are inevitably going to be assumed. So I'm glad that you're
Right.
going
Yeah.
in aware of that.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Definitely.
Yes.
It's definitely different than one in a debate where I'm like going with killer intent. It's different for sure.
Yeah, so we
It's a
have
different.
a mix of serious arguments and less so arguments, but hopefully we'll get to
Gotcha.
use that this time. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, like
But yeah,
I'll say this, like it's definitely a good ass topic. I do think you can play devil's advocate on either
for
or,
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
and it's perfectly valid and fine. Whether if it's Sasuke or Lee, um, it really just depends how you like you approach it at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I think it's good. It's a good topic. Freaking,
Mhm.
I love
Yeah,
Lee. Like I think he's goated. Same thing for Sasuke too, but it's more of like a personal bias for me. So like if I had to advocate for one, I'd do Lee personally because why not? That Gate shit was like peak Loki.
Yeah.
yeah, that
Um,
shit was big. I'm not gonna lie.
but other than that, what's it called? Like I would say like if we're being honest and transparent, um, typically people lean more with Sasuke, right? And just like he said, like narratively, whatever, blah blah. But that's the funny part about it. Like if you actually analyze it narratively, there is ways to technically go about it for Lee in favor too narratively, which is what makes it even more interesting. Because when we're speaking narratively, like that's when you bring Gar into the fucking equation. And Gaara's whole thing, like, if you analyze Gaara himself as a character, the way he views power, what he actually deems necessarily as what's true strength or not, so on and so forth, Gaara's whole thing is darkness, like, right? Like, having that void and hatred within your eyes and, like, knowing solitude and fighting for yourself and blah, blah. And that's why he doesn't respect Naruto or Lee at all. Like, he doesn't give a flying fuck about them. He thinks they're weak, whatever, because their whole thing is love, right? Protecting their comrades, you name it, whatever. While Sasuke is more on the different spectrum of things. So it's more of like a moral compass on how he's viewing strength, not necessarily him actually being the dictator of who's actually stronger or weaker and things like that. So like I don't know, it's something that's out there that's kind of cool to think about. But like I know a lot of people don't necessarily bring that up typically. But like it's more of like you could basically say it's more of like a flaw, like a subjective viewpoint that Gara has, but not the
Yeah,
actual, thing,
yeah, he would
because
correlate like
like, yeah. Which
yeah, he
explains
would
why the data
correlate.
book where it says like he thinks it's Sasuke's his strongest opponent, right? Like he views him or whatever, things like that. Because again, like if you analyze it as a whole, like that's how he views true power. He thinks everything else is just fucking or irrelevant and trash. Like that's why he was talking to Naruto the whole time. He's like, use the Nine Tails power, use that darkness within you, right? And then if you skip all the way to Shippuden, like they have kind of that brief reunion as well with the 5K Summit, and Sasuke's using the Mingekyo, the Susanoo. He's like, okay, this is your power of darkness, and he actually starts crying and shit, or whatever, blah blah, and they kind of go at it. So like that's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
But my bad, Jake. Go ahead.
no, yeah, Gara would back then he would correlate like someone's brutality to their power. That doesn't necessarily always correlate, but in his own mind because of how he grew up and how he's been successful in his life as far as getting what he wants. He deems people that are more brutal and more cruel as more powerful, which is why he favored Sasuke and looked down upon Lee and Naruto. Obviously, he was
But even Neji,
originally
remember Neji? He viewed
even
him a little
uh,
bit. He was like shivering. He was like, "Ooh, like I like this guy. Like he seems really
yeah,
strong." You know what I mean? Because like he could see it. Like he already sees like the darkness, blah blah, within that guy, and like why he's the way he is. And you get further context with like the seal on Neji's head and blah blah. And, you know what I mean? So like that's what I'm saying. Like those type of things that really hits the coffin with Gara. But absolutely facts. So like
yeah.
again, it just
Naruto
depends on like how
basically,
you approach it. Like so on
yeah,
and so forth. But that's like a way to kind of advocate for Lee in a sense, right? Like you could be more, it's more of a flaw in Gara. Doesn't mean it's necessarily the truth. But then you can kind of,
right, yeah,
backtrack on that and talk about Gara, like narrative with the data book thing and Sasuke, and then like how Sasuke like first appears with Kakashi and just like the whole emphasis of that, right? You can go on that whole fucking direction, and then basically in a nutshell, like narratively it does show that at this point Sasuke is the superior, right? But again,
yeah,
it's really really interesting though. It is, especially if you're bringing the retrieval arc into the scheme of things, because that also connects to the tuning exams as well. So like it's very interesting.
Yeah,
yeah. I
no,
guess with this,
I,
yeah,
I
Yeah.
yeah. But my
completely
bad. Go
agree.
ahead.
I'm a nerd
Yeah,
for the narrative stuff, so hey, I'm totally down to talk about that for now if y'all want. If I were to narratively argue for Lee, I think I could definitely make a really strong case for doing so. The way I would do so personally, instead of looking at the Gara aspect, though I see why you're going that, I think that's completely valid as well. There's multiple ways to go about it. The way I would do it is when you look at the relationship between Lee versus Neji, in my opinion, I think that Kishimoto is making a very clear parallel between the relationship between Naruto and Sasuke. He does this with many, many different characters, one of the most prominent ones being Madara versus Hashirama. And all of these parallels that we see that are supposed to represent Naruto and Sasuke are supposed to conclude before we
I agree
inevitably
with that.
see Naruto and
Yeah.
Sasuke's conclusion at the very end of the story. Madara and Hashirama concluded right before Naruto and Sasuke. That's showing one potential avenue or path that
Hold
Naruto
up.
and
Quick
Sasuke could
question.
go down. Yeah.
Quick question. When
yeah.
you say that, are you referring to like the whole genius versus hard work type concept, or just more like overall as a whole between there's always like these two characters that have like these parallels and then therefore that. Like, 'cause I know some people talk about that as a separate thing. That's why I was curious. Like, is it the hard work and genius thing that they were going through part one or even throughout, or is it just overall as a whole?
Yeah, I think
I was curious.
overall you would take
Okay.
every study of all of the different groups to see where they have similarities, but you can look at them each
Yeah.
specifically. So I would say each of
Okay.
them present something differently as well. Madara versus Hashirama is a lot more paralleling Naruto and Sasuke's ideology, as opposed to Lee versus Neji paralleling
Yeah.
the rivalry between them, the
Yeah.
underdog
Yeah.
status per se. There's a lot more
Hmm.
of a focus there, and I think that's a very good thing that Kishimoto does. It's like narrative genius. What I would say
Yeah.
for Lee versus Neji, and you two can correct me if you disagree. I would say that Kishimoto is having Lee be the Naruto in the relationship and Neji be the Sasuke. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah,
Narratively,
for
from
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because Neji's
thematic,
like the genius.
ideological
Yeah.
standpoint, yeah,
Neji's the genius. He's the guy that has it all, the dojutsu, whatever, always been top of his class, etc. Like viewed as the strongest, whatever. And then Rock Lee is the guy that has to work his fucking ass off, and then his crutch is the gates, while Naruto is the Nine Tails, right? And then he also works his ass off, hard work, doesn't give up, you name it. The only difference is he's the MC and Lee's not. So,
Right.
um, so yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Perfect. So where I would go from there is if Lee is the Naruto, then you have to look at what thematically they're trying to say. One of the biggest things in Naruto would be dreams. It's a character's dream and what that means to them. For Naruto, he's going to be the next Hokage. Well, I guess a Hokage, not necessarily the next one, but one of them eventually. For Lee,
yeah,
he wants to prove that he's a splendid ninja. So the thing with Lee is that he misconstrues his goal, whereas Naruto doesn't. That's why Lee fails, whereas Naruto doesn't. Naruto's goal to be Hokage is obviously very important to him, but so is his goal of proving himself to Sasuke. But he does keep those two in a way separate. He's not focusing on the Sasuke goal, at least not in part one. In part two, it's, oh, how can I ever save a friend or become a. The thing he says in part one that I'm really misquoting. But for part one, he has his Hokage dream that he's focused on. He's not obsessing over the Sasuke goal. That's where Lee goes wrong, and that's in part Guy's failure. Guy does take the responsibility for this, to where Lee's blind to the fact that he already has everything he needs to accomplish his goal in the current day. He can, and already has, but he just hasn't realized. He's already proven he's a splendid ninja. He's essentially done. He's essentially Naruto is the equivalent would be Naruto is Hokage in the prelims. He just doesn't realize it yet. But I guess with the Itachi thing, it's when everyone acknowledges you, you become Hokage. So in that way, imagine like everyone acknowledged Naruto in the Chunin exams would, I guess, be the equivalent. But Naruto's pushing himself to go farther to get more acknowledgement because he doesn't think he's been acknowledged yet. That's the similarity, and that's why Lee fails, because he takes his obsession so far that he ends up injuring himself before he has the chance to go up against Neji, in which case you could argue narratively that Lee's become so obsessed that he has already surpassed Neji, in this case, that being the Sasuke equivalent, whereas at this point in time, I don't think that Naruto has done that yet, which would be the difference here, to where it's essentially a Naruto that forsake his Hokage dream to obsess over his Sasuke dream. That version of Naruto took it so far that he did end up surpassing Sasuke, but at the cost of his Hokage dream. I think that's how you could narratively argue the Lee over Sasuke point in this case.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The narrative more thematic route
Yeah, I feel
to
that.
argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see some like parallels between Rock Lee and
Because
Neji.
there's a lot of moments where Naruto surpasses Sasuke, Jay. You know what I mean? Like, just blatantly and
Yeah.
outright just shows that, whether if it's the mental app moment, the QB moment, etc. It's, let's be real, consistency wise, it's mainly always the QB moment. Every time the QB came out, it's flat out like, yeah, I'm over you now, bitch. What's it
Yeah.
called? But definitely the mental amp, you know, and then along with like then getting the frog and shit, you know, which was also
Oh, yeah.
part of the Nine Tails chakra. That's the only reason why he was able to summon the frog. It's always the Nine Tails chakra. Fucking, so like there's a lot with it, and then the same similar dynamic as he was getting towards that you were like leaning on too is Lee. Instead of the Nine Tails, it's the gates, right? And even Guy flat out just states verbatim, like, yeah, this is what he needs to beat Neji. Like, it's such a fast, like, speed, like taijutsu, fucking, combo, whatever, where like Neji can't even defend himself, right? He's just completely outclassed, speed wise and power, and he gets fucked up. And he's not like Gar, who's just a fucking tank sponge and can just keep getting hit unless you got like Bone Style or Shidori or whatever the fuck, or Rising Gun, or other things like that. So, but yeah, so like that's I agree with that. But go ahead, Jim. My bad. Let's
Yeah.
just
When
say
it
a little
comes
more
to
about
this topic, I guess I've fine-tuned it for so long that I approach it obviously from a more empirical standpoint.
the
Now,
feats.
if I'm if I'm debating from a logical standpoint, I do have argumentation that I do believe is very hard to counter. Because I give my premise with a substantial amount of empirical backing. Um, and it's kind of hard to wiggle your way out of my, I guess, wiggle your way out to counter what I state. But obviously, I'll say that when debate happens. But I've fine tuned it for a long time. I mean, we've been asked this question for a long time, so I've really thought about it for a long time and have constructed some unique, I guess you could say, argumentation for it.
Yeah, no,
That
for
most
sure, man. And
most
that's
people
why
don't
it's
hear.
good, like, to make it like basically to make it short and concise, right? Like extremely so simple and short and concise, where like like you said, you just have no way to kind of get out of it. Like, you know what I mean? Get out of the hole, you know? So no, I get you. But
Yeah,
that's kind of like how you have to make it be, because if you just make it available to like where it's just a whole other can of worms or all these rabbit holes or whatever the fucking case may be, like then it just becomes very contentious, right? And really hard, or now you're doing all these points and whatnot here and there. So like, yeah, if you just stick right to the gravy and biscuits, man, and you just keep it right there, then yeah, that's the best way to approach it. I agree. Like just get straight
yeah,
to it and just show why all that's fucking not even necessary and redundant. Especially
exactly.
if you're evolving the feats direct, because like I feel like that's the biggest thing. We can go all day every day about philosophy or the narrative or certain other subjective points or the data books or whatever the case may be, but when it comes to the feats itself, like there's just certain things that certain characters do, and it's like, yeah, I mean, like how do you like how do you really combat that, right? Because it's
exactly.
just flat out that's just what it is, you know. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Basically,
But
when I debate or hear others, what's key to me is creating a premise that's so strong that it goes beyond a reasonable doubt to where most people can't, yeah, like Batman alluded to, you can't wiggle your way out of it. It's easier said than done. You got to be quite good at argumentation, um, quite good at logic, quite well practiced and well versed in it. Be able to call out fallacies, be able to avoid fallacies yourself. But that's the way I approach most debates. Uh, that takes a lot of practice. But with this one, because we've been asked this for multiple years now, we have fine tuned. Well, we fine tuned arguments for it for a long time. So it is always a fun topic though to go back to. Um,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm excited. Hopefully,
yeah.
if this scaredy cat Kamui ever gets online, oh my goodness. Um, but
hey,
I've
you
been
know how Obito is, bro. He be sitting, he be just sitting on fucking Hashirama's head, just fucking around while everything's
yeah,
going on, just sitting there, calming away. So it
yeah.
is what it is. Sorry, not messing.
No, I'm excited to see what counters he's gonna have to Jay's arguments. Conway's never really like looked into the debate sphere. I did a little bit a couple years ago, but I think both of you have done a lot more than me in terms of that. That being said, I do think that Conway and I, because again, I've listened to some Sasuke versus Lee debates back in the day, especially. So I know
Yeah.
the arguments, but I think that Kamui and I, we actually did cook. We came up with a lot of pretty strong, unique arguments that you've definitely never heard before. And not just the ridiculous
Gotcha.
ones, some of the serious ones, too.
Yeah. No,
I'm
I always
excited to
like
see what
hearing
you
No,
have
more
to say,
about it.
though.
absolutely, and that's the thing too. Like for the audience, guys, like don't get it twisted. Like there's a very really like clear important distinction. Like when debating, the whole point. It's not really mainly for the entertainment value. Like sure, you can get some entertainment, whatever, or like sometimes people are funny or whatever the case can be. But the main most important thing when people are debating is they're trying to obviously win, right? They're trying to win the debate and obviously even potentially persuade you guys that they have the right winning stance, right? While as for
Yeah.
like discussions or whatever, like what we're doing now, that's more kind of fun and laid back and where you can kind of throw all things around, perspectives, this and that, devil advocate, yada yada yada, and it's more of an enjoyable experience because we're all just kind of just making do with it, right? And not trying to make it as simple and bland as when it comes to a debate. So that's another thing too, guys. Like when it comes to debates, like that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just very competitive in nature, and it's not necessarily to please everybody all around or to fully entertain. It's more of like, hey, they're competing, right? So just putting that out there too. Like that's important. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
so
Debating. It's obviously it depends on the context, but for me, it's always
exactly.
been like I'm competitive like by my nature, but when debates are in a more serious connotation, I definitely I shoot to kill, I guess you could say. Obviously much more with others than some, but yeah, debates to me, there's a difference, like Batman said, between a discussion and debate. Discussion is more an exchange of ideas. A debate's more of a clash of ideas. You're trying to have your idea triumph over your opponents, and you use many
Facts.
tactics.
Absolutely facts. You said it perfectly there.
Yeah,
That was the perfect way to say
yeah,
it.
exactly. And when you're debating, at least from my mind, I use every tool that's available. Obviously, superior argumentation, but in a more serious exchange, mental warfare, making my opponent doubt themselves. There's many little nuances that could make you gain the edge. Just from your opponent's standpoint, from the audience's standpoint, the art of persuasion. It's definitely a useful tool. Um, and it comes in handy not just in debates, but I think in just everyday life. If used properly, it's the ability to properly argue is very useful. Which is why I've always liked debates since I could remember. So it's fun. It's fun. All in in good spirits.
Hey, this is the one debate that I want you to be competitive. The more, the better. I'll debate to
Yeah.
win, but I hope to lose. I'm on your side on this one.
Yeah, we haven't had a. I think we. Oh, you had the guy. Speaking of debate, you had on the guy that debated me a while ago. Huh? I mean, we're cool now. Fucking what was his name? We debated what was it?
The-
Sasori versus Sage Naruto was it? I think.
Oh yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Phantom Red. Was that
Yeah,
it?
yeah, there we go. Yeah,
That
that was an interesting
hilarious.
debate. Yeah. We're
Oh,
cool
I love
now,
it.
but that was more just to prove a point.
Before I ask on that, Jay, and hold that thought, don't forget it. Just to FY,
Yeah.
I'm on Lee's side, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rooting for the other guy. Okay, I know Jay's my boy, and the whole nine, etc. Don't get me wrong. That's not changed. But hey, I'm here for Lee, man. That when he got up and he was unconscious, okay, and his whole fucking body's broken, the whole night. That was some peak ass shit. Sasuke never
That's
did
peak.
some shit like that.
Facts.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
But
that's peak.
anyways, so like I'm just putting that out there, just a disclaimer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, but so I'm rude. But anyways, continue. Like who won? Like who won that though? Like I don't think I
Oh,
remember that.
I destroyed him, but
It was pretty
Oh my
obvious.
god!
yeah, I destroyed him.
This dude, this no
I
humble,
destroyed him.
no fucking. We straight just
Yeah,
yeah. I dropped a fucking meteor on him. Moderate Chia
I
style. That's what I
fucking
did.
it was a
Shit.
what's it called? The one that Madara drops on Onoki, a Tenga Shinsei or some
Yep.
shit.
Take
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't need
take a
judgment for
shit.
that one.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I dropped on him. But
Oh
we're cool
no.
now. All jokes aside, but that was me more just proving a point because he tried to stun me. Um, and I proved the point. I'm like, you're gonna try to stun me, then I'll talk me, and he got stunned.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I
but
don't
we're
think he
cool. We're
meant
cool.
anything by that. Just by seeing
Yeah,
like how he is, his personality, since he's been in my server for a while now too. I think that's just more of his
yeah,
personality in general, since he has like a military background and stuff.
yeah. That's I didn't take it like hatred, but to me it was like, oh, he's trying to like little boy me just because he thinks he comes from like that kind of background to where he has like this superior mentality. I was like, okay, well if that's what you think, then if you could out argue me, then I'll admit that. That's what I told
But
him. He's
hey,
like, okay,
hey,
and he got destroyed.
we're
So
all adults, you know what I mean? Nothing but love and the
it was
passion,
admittedly, yeah, it was
it's okay.
admittedly an ego. It was an ego battle. He won't admit it. We're
uh,
cool. It's not shade. He won't
Like
admit it, but
this
that's
is
what.
Konoha, guys. This is Konoha. Like
Yeah,
everyone's welcome, everyone's loved and forgiven. Even if you're Orochimaru and you do like experiments on children, the whole nine, you're loved, you're forgiven. Come on
it was a
in.
battle of egos for sure. But when again, we're cool. This is just me giving my thoughts prior before we weren't. If you're watching Phantom, we're cool. Don't. It's not me
Yeah.
like still holding these feelings. But when Phantom came on the walkie-talkie, he was kind of like insinuating that he was the victim in that altercation. He's like, well,
Hmm.
he has like this macho persona. He never talks to anyone. I'm like, dude, you came at me with hostility, trying to sun me like as if you were my father, but then I sunned you. So now you try to play victim. It's like it's a little hypocritical, just because you got bested with the hopes that you weren't going to get bested. So you make a 180 and you play the victim when originally you were trying to play the predator, as if like you're trying to like prey on me, that I'm your inferior, but that just wasn't the case. But again, that was all like a battle of ego for both of us. Uh, but yeah, we're cool. It was just that was my perspective on that. I was like,
You
bro,
know the vibe I'm getting here right now when
yeah,
Itachi like comes into the cave and he's like, "Hey, Kabuto, I'm your weakness."
Ex-
Like,
yeah,
we teach you as a weakness, and that's my existence. That's the
exactly.
vibe.
I'm like, you
Okay.
can't expect to little boy
Damn.
somebody and then like play victim after you fail to do that. I was like, bro, don't try to little boy me then. It's like, that's where my competitive spirit will come out. There was no like real hostility, but I was like, okay, you want to compete? Let's compete. So when we competed, he was like, oh, you treated me bad. I'm a victim. I'm like, bro, skill issue. That's a skill issue. I'm sorry.
Hey, all I'm gonna
That's all
say,
I had to
I'm
say.
neutral right now. All I'm gonna say though, at the end of the day, putting Sasori up against Sage Naruto is crazy though.
Yeah,
That
that's the
is
crazy part. I'm
crazy.
like, at least pick someone where like you had a
Yeah,
chance.
Like,
Like,
not
I don't
just
know
a
about, I don't know
premise
about that one
alone.
there. I was like, wait a
So,
fucking minute. Like, if that dude was that much of a actually no, I can't really say that because wasn't he like when he was brought back as an Edo, like he didn't even have like any of his shit. So like
Yeah,
he
no,
was
he didn't
like
have an issue.
severely
He got
fucking
cooked.
handicapped. Yeah. So never mind.
Yeah,
I was about to bring up his Edo performance, which is fucking miserable.
it was
But yeah, no.
miserable
Like
though.
point being said is come on, man. You know, like
Yeah,
Sasori is strong. Don't be wrong. He's that guy. Like, and I know there's always like the two parties that argue with each other and get really pissed, and they can't choose between whether if he's above the Sonic or below or not, or yada yada,
yeah,
or if he's a
exactly.
soccer victim, etc. But either way, point being said is like then when we're getting to like Sagemo Naruto tip,
That's a
like
different tier.
what? Like
Yeah,
what?
it's a different tier.
That's crazy.
You're talking about boys
So
that can like scrap, like, can swap hands with pain. I mean, fatigue pain,
yeah,
but still swap
fatigue,
hands and
right?
like
But that's still
boxer.
like next level strength. Even fatigue pain is no
Yeah,
fucking joke. You
Sonins
know what I
get
mean?
bitched. I
So
mean, we saw what happened in Jiraiya.
yeah,
Let's be honest. He got
yeah.
fucking bitched by Pain, bro. That wasn't even competitive. People always say, "Well, he said that if Jiraiya knew his secret, he'd win." I'm like, dude. First of all, that's his
Oh,
master. Secondly, he was glazing him. Third of all, he probably meant that if he knew his secret, he would bring like all Konoha to the Rain Village. He would not.
let's be real.
Clearly, if he
Oda,
knew his
he's
secret,
probably
come on,
smiling in
bro.
the background. He's probably like
Yeah,
walking talking
bro.
right now. He's probably like, "Hey, that is the whole anything."
He was
No,
I'm pretty
glazing
sure
I
he talked
Jiraiya.
about that before.
I saw this whole
Fucking
opportunity as just
yeah.
something I could have a field day with, and I absolutely took advantage. You know, regardless of what came out of it, I was gonna have fun no matter
Yeah,
what. So I'm glad I did it.
yeah, yeah. It's like when it comes to debating, I think I can't speak for everyone, but over my time debating people, a lot of them take things personally when you argue against them. I'm not gonna say names or anything, but to me, I get a kick out of like, unless it's Noodles, let's not even talk about him. That's like genuine hostility. I don't hate him. I don't even hate him, but there's genuine hostility there. Aside from him, I get a kick out of like the competition. I don't take it personal. I don't. This isn't. I don't really care. I'm just there to win. As far as what the people think of me, like what my opponent thinks of me, when I'm in that kind of altercation. It doesn't matter. But I've always enjoyed it. But some people just they can't take the smoke, and I don't know, they take things the wrong way. When to me, it's like, dude, we're
It's too
clashing
sensitive.
ideas.
Yeah, too
Yeah, bro.
sensitive.
It's like
Like at
we're
the end of the
clashing
day, like
ideas.
perception's a thing, but yeah, you're really just talking about fiction. Like, come on, it's not that
Yeah,
deep, you know?
exactly. We're talking about fiction, bro. Like,
Yeah. Well, the
yeah, but
interesting thing
yeah, there
there,
is a
I think if you
yeah. Oh,
take a
my bad.
step
Go ahead.
back from that, though, I think rather than blaming like every individual who does that, I think you could like do some pattern recognition, and maybe that can even like speak on human nature itself. To say that's how
Yeah.
maybe most people just naturally they're just wired, whether it's evolution or for whatever instinctual reason. And to not be
Right.
like that, to show some sort of restraint, that's difficult to do, and not everyone can do that. They have to like sort of crawl their way out of the mud to be able to do that, and they have to be aware that they would even do that in the first place in order to even begin crawling.
For sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
That's a
if
good
That's
point.
like
anything,
a
it's
theme in
more
Naruto.
commendable for those who don't do it.
That's like a theme in Naruto
Yeah.
too. Like that what you're talking about right now, like that's kind of brought upon in
Restraint.
Naruto as well. You know, restraint and yeah,
Yeah.
everything. How people
Yeah.
Restraint
take
is
things, their
difficult.
perception. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely difficult for us all at a certain point. I'm sure if there is a certain level that I was pushed to, it would even be hard for me to show restraint. It's never happened on the fucking internet. It never will. It's just not that serious. But maybe
Exactly.
in perhaps some real life like altercation, I'm sure it could happen. But it is hard to show restraint. Emotions, like you said, due to biological hardwiring, are there for a reason. Um, Now, clearly, that most of us on the internet live in first world conditions, our emotions can actually harm us and cloud our judgment because we're no longer in life or death situations because we're again in first world conditions. So our emotions can actually be to our detriment, and that's where restraint comes in. And it's very, very, like you said, difficult to do. But if you can do it, you could have a very successful and peaceful life. Because things that just don't matter or rather shouldn't matter just won't phase you. If you're not having to defend a family member or defend
Real,
yourself,
like
like,
in comparison to what we
you know,
really have to stress about nowadays, you know, and like the
exactly.
responsibilities, whatever, blah. Like there's way more to that, right? But at the same time, I will say this because obviously me and Jay are understanding of this too. We get it, right? Like we get it. Like let's be real, people are extremely passionate about mangas, anime, whatever,
Facts,
and
facts.
they love it.
I
It's
am
the
too,
love,
for
right?
sure.
They're super
Yeah.
passionate. That's why they care a lot. That's why they may even react that way, whatever. So we're not saying like it's at all just completely unreasonable, whatever, blah blah, and like
Yeah, it's
oh,
not
grow the fuck
unreasonable.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're just saying like at the end of the day, try to like that's really what it is, right? It is fiction, It's not
Yeah,
that,
exactly. And
So
when I'm competing, going back to what I was saying earlier, that's where the mental warfare comes in. If I can smell that, I could smell that you're emotionally charged in this in this exchange of argumentation. I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Daredevil? Is Jay
Exactly.
Daredevil, guys?
Echolocation and super smell. I'm gonna poke holes in that, and I'm going to expose that. So when from the audience's perspective, there's a higher probability that they see my opponent's composure being compromised, while mine seems iron, in comparison. So that's another thing I try to poke holes at if I really need to. If I'm like against someone of note, like Sage, that's not necessary because he holds his own composure. Then we're really going to battle as far as who's the better debater at that point. But that's another factor I think people that want to debate should keep in mind if they can exploit it. But
I don't know about Oda, but I agree to that like completely in a way. Like I do think like if you get really emotional or you start like 9 out of 10 times that can hinder you in your performance, whether if it's
exactly,
sports or a game or whatever the fucking case may be, or you debating something because like you're getting so like erratic and like you're starting to become irrational, right? Like and
yeah,
you're being
incoherent,
so it
yeah,
can actually severely like affect your performance and harm you and to where now it's being counterintuitive because the whole goal is you're trying to obviously win something, right?
Mm.
exactly, yeah,
So to where like if you're calm and collected and you're able to perceive things better or hear things more, whatever, so on and so forth, and strategize and like it's overall that's just gonna work out, tremendously a lot better probability wise, like for instance, like you're not
yeah,
gonna see a guy like losing their fucking minds when they're playing chess, right? No, like they're gonna be
exactly,
focused, right? They're
calm and
calculated, they're watching. Yeah, you can't just be so like and then that's what anything really, but
yeah,
like
exactly.
that is important. You got
But
to hold your composure and like shit. Even Naruto, if you fucking analyze Naruto, like how many damn like Sasuke, he's like the biggest motherfucker with that, keeping his calm and
facts,
composure no matter how bad things are getting. Unless it's
yep.
Itachi, that's like his one
Well,
kryptonite.
that's what
But like
Itachi,
no
yeah,
matter
he
yeah,
crashes
like but
out.
like Datara,
Yeah,
the entire fight, that motherfucker's just stone faced, calm and
he was
collected,
cool as ice.
and that's
Yeah,
pissing Datara off. He's getting pissed
exactly,
because of it. You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
so that's what I'm
he
saying. Like
hated that.
and that showed throughout a
Yeah,
lot in Naruto, guys. Like Kakashi and Sasuke, I think, do a really good job of always keeping their cool, and people just that'll irk them, man. It drives,
exactly.
it makes their skin
It's like
crawl.
when I debate or prepare for one, I kind of like when I'm preparing what I'm going to say, I kind of take myself out of myself, if that makes sense, and try to look at what I would say from a third party's perspective. Like if I was a fucking judge and I hear myself saying X, Y, and Z, how would this sound? How would it be perceived? Would it be perceived as do I sound doubtful? Do I sound doubtful? Do I sound confident? Do I sound fallacious? Like all these things are coming to mind when I'm preparing for a debate. And people outside looking in might be like, "Oh, you take it way too serious." I'm like, if we're debating, there's a clear purpose for that. It's to have the superior idea. So I'm gonna attempt to do that. But yeah, going back to the emotional thing, that's another thing that if you take yourself out of yourself and you know simulate that you're viewing it from a third party perspective, if you see two people having an exchange of argumentation and you see one being very erratic, that just insinuates doubt in the argumentation. That just insinuates defeat. It almost oozes like them being erratic. The very fact that they're erratic invites the idea that they're being defeated, because if they weren't being defeated, why would that emotion present itself? So that's the way I view it. That's why I go back to that mental warfare thing. It's there's a very high probability that someone that's being erratic in a argumentation exchange is having doubt or is genuinely upset because they're being bested argumentatively. So keeping composure I think is almost important as having a good argument, to be honest, a lot of the time. But that's where we're back to the idea of restraint comes to play.
Yeah,
Again,
well,
harder said than done, but
just to add my
yeah.
own 2 cents into this, because this is a very fascinating thing. At this point, I got a lot to say. So,
Oh yeah,
so
for sure, yeah.
it's almost like an interesting paradox because, in a way, debate is such a logical sport, but in doing so, the more seriously you take it, the more competitive you're going to be, the more emotional you're going to be, the more erratic you're going to become. It's almost like it's a hindrance. The
Right.
the more serious you take it, the worse you're going to do in a way, which in a way. And so that's where it's
Right.
actually
I see
where
what
the
you're saying.
professionals come in to make the strongest and greatest debates, to where neither side is going to flip out. In fact, that's where I think strategic insinuation comes in handy to such a strong degree. The more competitive you are, the more likely you are to be able to make your opponent go off the rails like that. And once they do that, you've basically won. It's a stomp fest, it's a troll fest at that point. And if both people are
Catera,
doing it, it's just a
hit
pack
on
fest.
rage.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's sort of like the interesting dilemma or almost paradox of it, to where the more serious you take it, the worse you're gonna do. Again, that's to say, because strategic insinuation with the tone, even if it's not directly, you're at least subconsciously gonna impact the judgment on the way you present your points, regardless of what your point is. And the better the judge is, the less that's gonna matter. But I think to some extent, it's always gonna be there, no matter who the judge is. That's just subconsciously, that's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think, like you said, if you take it very seriously, the possibility of emotionally charged moments do increase. That's why you gotta find that balance. Like, you might take it like I'm
Gotta
not gonna
have
say
your
like
happy
every
medium, man. It's all about happy
yeah,
mediums and composure, and like you said it brilliantly,
like
balance. Yeah.
I'm when it comes to competition, just in general, I back in the day used to have an unhealthy level of it, like to where I was erratic years ago, way before I did any of this. I was very erratic to the point where it was a problem. But as I grew older, going back to restraint, like Batman said, I found that happy medium to where I kept that competitive drive, but I honed and like refined it to where it's still there, but I know how to, like you said, like Ode said, have that sort of calculated tone, a calculated approach to where I'm in control of this, argumentative exchange. That takes time. I mean, it took me many years, um, because I am competitive with most things, especially
Definitely
things
takes
that I'm trying to
discipline,
win at.
experience, and discipline for
Exactly.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah. Because like
like
you said, you take things serious, and you're not if you don't have that happy medium, you do run the risk of blowing your composure, which is
I'll give
very
a
detrimental.
fucking prime example. Like also before I do that clarification, Ode, like do I call you like walkie talkie, or do I just call you Ode? Like are you the god of Shinobi or Hashirama? Like what am I saying? The first Hokage? Like what am I doing here? Like
You can
what do
call
I
me
call you
Oodie.
by?
Yeah.
What's
Well,
that?
you can call me Oodie or Ood or whatever.
Udi.
Yeah.
Udi. Ode.
Well,
What?
I mean, it's funny because this is the first time that you and I talked. Me and Jay did a stream a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and we just like been talking in DMs ever since, obviously. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
can
no,
say
we've never
oh.
been in a call together, you and I, which is interesting. So I've never
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, you're good,
So
man.
so I'm not gonna lie, because of Noodles, to this
Oh,
day, it's hard to remember how to say your name correctly.
Oh,
oh my
fucking
God, here
noodles.
we go. Yeah, we
It's
talk
just
about
the
fucking
consequence.
names
Yeah,
right
I'm sorry
here.
to say
Hey guys, we have the mental capacity and memory of Guy. Okay, just don't remember that shit. Fucking nah. What he's referred to is either
The
Vitamin
fucking
Man, fucking
Vitamin
Doctor
Man, yes.
Mario in Doctor Mario in this bitch. Speaking of Mario, that was a good movie. I watched that yesterday or 2 days ago.
That shit's fire.
What's it called? Or like fucking VI Batman VI. Like if you actually read and use your eyeballs, it
yeah.
says Batman, not Vitamin Man.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
I
But
know.
I'm
I
not
don't know
gonna lie.
where you
You
guys
like
came up with that shit.
just being
literally.
objective. I do think Vitamin Man, it just rolls off the tongue. Like it's just more memorable. It's not insulting. It's just the way it just sticks out. I'm sorry to say.
That's the funny part. I know we're getting a little off track, but that's the fucking hilarious part about it. Like anytime a
What's up, raspberry?
motherfucker has actually called me Vitamin Man, it low key does trigger me. I'm like it's like wait you motherfucker, because the reason why it's not really the person, it's more of like it brings me back to fucking Noodles, right? And that motherfucker
Yeah,
like
the
so it's
noodles
just more of
era.
like how fucking dare you know better, you know what I mean? And then some people they know that low key, so they'll literally do it intentionally and on purpose just to troll. But it's fun. It is funny though. But no, to backtrack, going back, Odie, whatever it is, or a God of Shinobi, whatever it is. All right. So what I was getting at, most importantly, like a prime example, like Orochimaru, when he's fighting Hiruzen, he's like for the most part, he's arrogant, right? He's confident, blah blah. The whole night, he's fighting, it's a crazy battle, but he's cool for the most part, right? They're going at it, things are going whatever. But when that motherfucker gets put on the Grim Reaper, right? And he can't move, and shit's getting real. And then Hiruzen like still like does the right thing. He doesn't kill him, and he just takes his arms, whatever, blah, and goes from there. That motherfucker crashes out.
Crashes
Like
out.
he was crashing. While Hiruzen's taking his last breath, he's smiling, closing his eyes. He's content with what he did, blah, blah. Orochimaru's crashing the fuck out, bro. That man is screaming at him like, fuck you, you're old, you smell, the whole nine. And Hiruzen don't give a fuck. Like, that's the prime example I'll just bring up, which is perfect for this whole thing of what he was talking about, Oodie and Jay, because that's just what it is, right? Like, and Orochimaru, he cared significantly. Like, he was extremely passionate, wanted to put Hiruzen in his place, you know, blah blah, the whole fucking thing he had going on, the crush Konoha, like the whole theme, right? But then it went horribly wrong because of how much invested, how much emotional, blah blah, whatever, yada yada, and then that's the result, right? So like, yeah, there you go, guys.
Yeah, Orochimaru forgot to breathe there for a second. I'm surprised he didn't pass out from screaming.
Oh yeah, that motherfucker was
Oh my god.
That was the worst crash show he had, besides when he got literally fodderized by fucking Itachi. That was
no, the Itachi scenario was fucking hilarious because, bro, like it's been a while since I've seen the Naruto anime, right? So like I was looking at this clip on Twitter or whatever the fuck you call it, X, and like and someone posted something about like Itachi and Orochimaru, and it was funny. So I just watched it real quick, just a little bit, even though I already know what happens. And then, but just watching it again, like I see it, and bro, that motherfucker was pissed. He literally screams in the end. He's like, Itachi! Like he's fucking pissed. He's fuming.
Fucking like shitting himself.
He can't fuck with him, dude. It just gave me a laugh. I was like, oh, poor
Itachi just stares at him. He's like, bitch. As long as I have these eyes,
Yeah.
shit. I was like, damn, bro. No wonder he never even wanted to see you again. That's insane.
I don't know if you guys remember for the anime, but that one other moment too, where he's like being weird and he's watching Kid Itachi train and shit, and then like Itachi just like he thinks he's gonna die because of what he's attempting. He's like, nah, there's no way he can do that. And he's about to go in and stop him, but then like he does the impossible somehow because of the shotting gun, and then he's like, oh, this motherfucker. He's like, this guy is something. He starts fucking drooling over his like talent and shit.
I'm not gonna lie, that scene was kind of weird.
Always bowing down to him.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
Like why would have Itachi have died in that scenario? What? Because like 5-6 kunai hit him. That's not gonna kill him, is it? What do you think? Itachi was gonna land on his neck? What was gonna happen there?
Yeah, Orochimaru was tripping. He was literally he was tripping in that.
He was always in awe of Itachi. That's all I'm getting at. He was always in awe, like just like blown away, and he knew he could just never fuck with the guy. And then you just get the flat out confession, like in part 1 Naruto, where he's like, he looks like a fucking mummy and shit because he just lost to Hiruzen and whatever, and he's just sitting there. And he's like, nah. But I can't fuck with Itachi. He's just flat out stronger than me, and it's hilarious because then it goes back to the whole conversation of like when he says that wasn't too long ago before when Jiraiya fought Itachi with Kasame. Like we just saw that a moment ago too. So it's just fucking hilarious, like how it all is. But anyways, Itachi was over here trying to let Jiraiya have his, his thing still, his aura, his pride, and he's like, all right, I'll entertain this shit. It's all good.
It's funny. So you guys have heard the phrase or the saying, whatever it is. I'm gonna again badly quote it. Whatever it is, it's something along the lines of the ship that like turns 1 degree off, and you travel like 10 miles out, where eventually it's gonna be so far away that you can't even see the other ship.
I think I heard something similar.
Yeah, something like that. So
I know what you're talking about.
You get the idea. So me and Kamui have been like that with Orochimaru. We just love the character of Orochimaru, to where just tiny nudges over time, just small arguments have added up in our favor, to where we've just transcended Orochimaru to a whole new tier of power. We just think he unironically slams Itachi now. We've jumped so far over time of how far Orochimaru realistically can scale up. It's insane.
Honestly, if someone were to tell me Boruto or Orochimaru claps Itachi, I wouldn't think they're crazy. If it's Boruto or Orochimaru, it's a different. We're talking about something else. But yeah, Orochimaru is an interesting character because while he is a Sannin, there is the argument with the fact that he's constantly modifying himself, and he has like this obsessive compulsion with.
And he gets Hashirama cells like in the war arc too. Like that's a big deal,
So with that, there is the argument that exists that because of his obsession with improvement, that he has far surpassed Sannin. I'm not saying this is true, but the argument exists, and due to that, he's not only beyond Sannin level, but there's people he could beat that not the other Sonic could, essentially. And obviously you can't prove how far he's improved himself or how much more powerful he's become. You can only use the feats that are at hand and perhaps some data book statements if they suffice. But yeah, Orochimaru is an interesting character in that sense.
Yeah, like if
He's
you take it at a
definitely
grain of
interesting.
salt, like what Jay did, like at the end of, like just to keep a long story short, like you go all day every day, right? Well, the highball or this or whatever, and approach all
Facts.
these angles and so on and so forth, and like or whether the arguments are there or not, and at the end of the day, like it's at least understandable because Orochimaru is fucking cracked. Like that dude is cracked.
Facts. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like the dude didn't even like get like a perfection sage mode or whatever. It's like more of like you guys can correct me if I'm wrong because this is an area where I kind of like don't remember that well. But it was more of like a pseudo sage mode he kind of had really like in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like an incomplete. Like it was some weird shit. Like I know he didn't master it like Kabuto did or like obtain what he wanted. And then like he
Yeah, it wasn't
kept on
perfect.
even in Boruto like he kept on trying to achieve like that true perfection for Snake Sage mode. Like it's the Snake Sage mode shit is fucking weird, bro. Because Boruto
It
has the
is.
whole thing with it, and then there's the whole thing in Shippuden, and then you have what's going on with it's fucking weird. So that, but point being said is the guy is cracked. Whatever. That's a whole other separate thing. If you guys want to jump in that, you can after. But either way, like all I'm getting at, what we do know bare minimum, like Jay said, like every time we see him, I'm sorry, like I just like for any Orochimaru fans, I'm sorry, but he's getting bitched every time by Itachi. Every time he
That's
sees
facts,
this
bro.
man, Itachi's in the
He's
spotlight and he's
shitting
drooling
himself.
over the motherfucker. Yeah, or shitting himself,
Yeah.
or he gets bitched in the 1v1. And what was Itachi like 12 at that point?
Yeah,
Like
he's a
fucking
kid.
or
Yeah,
like a
he's a
teen,
fucking little kid.
a kid. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's getting bitched. Like, and this guy, you talk about a motherfucker that has like eons of experience, like wars, everything, and he's like, really, like this guy comes along and just fuck me, fuck my sounding reputation, like I'm
Exactly.
sorry, but Orochimaru went through the fucking trenches with this man and had like severe Uchiha PTSD. Like it is what it is,
Facts.
and then when he
Facts.
comes back into it, he sees like a fucking Itachi shitting blood, blind as fuck. Okay,
Can't even see.
super fatigued, like no chakra really at all. And he
Just
comes out, he's
blind
like,
and
"Oh,
shit.
you're fucked. I'm gonna kill you. I'm in my strongest Sonic Plus form. I'm gonna fuck you up just to get hit by a Totsuka blade that he was looking for his entire life." And then he gets sealed in one shot. I'm sorry, bro. If I was
He got
Orochimaru, I
cooked.
would be pissed.
He got cooked, bro. That was
Like
fucking bad.
Itachi was the like epitome of like just his kryptonite of his existence, the entire fucking show.
Facts, bro.
And then you
The
got
whole
Kabuto. Kabuto was given the torch to avenge Orochimaru, and he fails.
he got bitched
Like
too. He got
Itachi,
cooked too.
got that's what I'm saying. Like
Bro.
Orochimaru never had that dub over Itachi. He just
Never, bro.
never got
So
over it, bro.
when people say like Troy
Yeah.
is that guy, Itachi was scared of him. I'm like, bro, he's capping because he's his undercover ally and he doesn't want Kisame to scrap with him. Why would he be scared of Jiraiya if he cooked Orochimaru on his deathbed with AIDS? Like, what are you talking about? It was, Jiraiya. I'm not saying Jiraiya is weak. Jiraiya is that guy, but he's no Itachi. He's obviously no Pain. He's no Obito. He's not in that tier. None of those Sanin are. None of those Sanin are in that top three Akatsuki tier. It's just not the case. And we see it constantly. We see it multiple times. People shitting themselves over these guys. The Sanin shitting themselves. Like it's very clear. It's very clear that Itachi,
Like
Pain,
if
and
you
Obito,
count the
those
Naruto
guys.
Storm Evolution game, why not? Because that was like the one of the out of all the games like where Kishima was actually involved, blah blah whatever yada yada. Like there was like the animated OVA scene where like Minato has to fight Jiraiya and Hiruzen at the same time for the
Oh
Kage
yeah, yeah, I
title, and
remember
he
that.
beats them both. Like we don't know
He's
what
like,
happened, but
bitch.
he won
Yeah.
somehow. Like
He
they're like,
cooked him.
okay, you
He
can be
cooked a
Hokage.
Sani and a Hokage. It's crazy.
Like, and that's a
Like,
younger
bitch,
Hiruzen. Like that Hiruzen was above the
he's
Sonic at
stronger.
that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
like
He was
so,
stronger.
like I'm just saying, like
Cook,
it
cook.
is what it is. Whether if you what, regardless if you count that or not, fucking anytime we've seen the manga or the anime, that like they've always just been shown on a higher pedestal, like just flat out for the most part, right? Like, can you make
Yeah,
arguments for the Sonic? Can you like go all day, every day, whatever, try to approach angles, how to have them above these like high tiers? To keep it really simple, I classify it as like low Kage, mid Kage, high Kage. Low is like Kakashi, right? People are on that spectrum, whatever. Then mid's Sasani. Then high is like Itachi, Obito, fucking pain and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then when you go even above that, now you're getting to the tier of like fucking Hashirama Madara and shit like that, So like,
Facts.
so overall,
Like
like,
bots.
I feel like at least keeping it very simple, right? It was pretty clear and cut and dry that these guys were above the Sonic, right? But that's
Facts.
just me. I'm pretty
Very
sure
apparent.
Oodie has a lot to say with this whole thing.
No, for sure.
And if you guys want to talk about the whole snake shit between like Boruto and Naruto and Orochimaru, 'cause I think that's a whole other fucking thing too. It's really weird, bro. But I'm pretty sure you guys know a
Yeah.
lot more. So
Yeah, I guess I'll
Very
start
vague.
with the most recent thing you were talking about, the whole Minato thing.
Yeah.
So I think the easiest way to think about Minato's power scale, again, from a narrative perspective rather than an actual power scaling perspective, and I think it's consistent with the things that you described, the feats, is that Naruto and Sasuke obviously have the parallel. Naruto, he's looking at Minato as essentially his goal. That's the person he's striving to be and surpass one day. Likewise, Sasuke is looking at Itachi in that exact same light. So in that way, Naruto and Sasuke have the parallel. In that way, Minato and Itachi should be relative to one another, at least in terms of the goal between the protagonist and the deuteragonist. Where that's important is once you get to the war arc, both Naruto and Sasuke, at the end of the story, they're fighting alongside and they're surpassing those people at the same time. So I think that based on that, Minato and Itachi, obviously they have a very similar role in the story for these two characters. I think that they should also likewise be relative in power for that exact same reason.
Yeah, that specific
yeah,
matchup.
that's a good analysis. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that specific matchup is very interesting. Itachi versus
Oh yeah.
Minato. I've debated it multiple times,
Yeah,
many times. I have pretty good arguments for both sides. There's very good argumentation for both sides to be made. There's angles you could take for both. That's one of the best, in my opinion, debates in the fandom, in the verse. There's just so much empirical backing for both, so
for sure.
much extrapolations you can make from their careers.
All I'm
That's
saying,
up there.
Jay, Odie and Jay, bro, if we get if Kishimoto was to ever even entertain the fucking idea of like what if scenarios for like a Naruto animated show or something, I don't know. And it's like, and we somehow just see Itachi and Minato throwing hands and going at it, bro.
That'd
That'll
be
be some
fucking
peak
sick.
shit. That'll be a
That'd be
Yeah.
fight.
sick.
That'll be
That's up
some.
there
That
with
would be a fight, man.
yeah. That's up there with Itachi versus Pain. That's like
Yeah.
that's pretty godly. That's godly shit. But
Yeah. Well, it's
anyway,
because at multiple points during the war arc, it feels like the intent is that Naruto and Sasuke are supposed to be equals. But I don't know about you guys, but it seems like the general consensus seems to be that, like, at pretty much every point in the war arc, Naruto just blatantly surpasses Sasuke.
Yeah, like
yeah,
facts. Like they're comparable.
yeah.
Like I'll say this, like you said, Odie, like they're definitely in some regard comparable, right? Like especially when you have like that moment where it's like Sasuke's looking at Naruto, Naruto's looking at Sasuke, he's like,
Sizing each
okay, he has
other
a
up,
new
yeah.
MS, yeah, he has this
Yeah,
new
sizing each other
KCM
up.
form, whatever. Like, sure, like there's moments, whatever, but when you really analyze it under a microscope, like you were getting at further, it flat out Naruto is just emphasized to be stronger than him. Like the motherfucker starts clenching his fist. It goes
Yeah,
all the way
yeah.
back to part one all over again when they had that Shidorian Rising Gun class for the first time, where he's like, "How far will you go, Naruto?" Like, "Fuck, man!" Like he literally has that same exact moment when
Crashed out.
he
Yeah.
sees KCM 2. Yeah, and then when he
Yeah.
goes KCM 2 with Sage Mode, then he's shitting his pants even further, and he's like, "Fuck!"
Crashing out.
Like. Is this how like bro, like he's just like he's clenching his fists again. He's having like fucking Arthur moment, whatever that fucking bear
Facts.
thing with the glasses is called. Okay, like
It's
so like
he
like,
yeah,
it
he
was
had a
flat out
Vegeta
clear.
moment. It
Yeah,
was like when
yeah,
Vegeta
yeah,
saw Goku, when he
yeah.
saw Goku power up, he's like, "Oh God, how
Oh,
far have you
facts.
gone?" Like he was crashing
Yeah.
out. He was
No, well,
crashing
I
out
do
like
think, to
Vegeta
be
did.
fair, that's a very clear, direct moment, and you don't really get the equivalent for Naruto towards Sasuke. But I do think Kishimoto is trying to ping pong them back and forth throughout the war arc. As example, there's a couple times to where Sasuke is able to continue fighting, whereas Naruto, for one reason or another, whether it's emotional despair or physical power, he's not able to do so, and he needs his friends or comrades or even Sasuke himself to convince him to do so. One moment in particular is when Jubito uses the God Tree to absorb everyone's chakra. Naruto falls out of KCM. He falls down to his knees. And I think that's the moment where we get Ino transmitting Naruto's memories to the Alliance. Sasuke's continuing on, activating his Susanoo, chopping down the God Tree, and saying he's going to continue ahead. That's when Naruto flickers his KCM and stands back up to fight alongside Sasuke. Other times, you just have Sasuke and Naruto blatantly just fighting alongside each other together, like Tobirama is saying, wow, they have perfect teamwork. It's almost to imply that they're equals at that moment, and then they
Right.
surpass each other constantly back and forth throughout the war, just going back and
Th-
forth.
and That's a really beautiful thing you just said there, because like yeah, like absolutely, like there's key points narratively throughout where like yeah, they're clearly shown to be in a similar level, right? Like again, like don't get it twisted, am I saying like Sasuke is like far beyond Naruto? No. Like there's definitely some type of relative, or but like where they're there. Honestly, that's been shown throughout, right? Like throughout fucking Shippuden at certain points. 'Cause I think that honestly, where that really starts, well, technically, you could argue from the beginning, especially if you're bringing like emotional spectrums, morality, and philosophy, where Naruto lacks, and to where Sasuke shines, and then vice versa, where Sasuke lacks and Naruto shines. Like that's a whole other fucking thing, right? Because that moment you
Yeah.
just described with Sasuke and Naruto, Naruto's not used to just losing like that flat out, or with just like immense like really rough, like slap to the face, like this is reality type moment, right? Like Sasuke, he was fucking forced those pills down his fucking throat to show how shitty the world sucks, right? So Sasuke is more accustomed to that. He knows how to handle it a lot more better, or he's just more used to just being alone, right? And not really relying on friends and so on and so whatever. Like it's a different like vibe and aspect, while Naruto has always had everybody. Like that's even shown in their fight in the end, where Sasuke has nobody, Naruto has everybody, right? And then when they have the
Exactly.
Rising on and Chidori moment, Naruto has everyone helping with his Rising on. Sasuke only had Itachi. That's it, So like, or he just has nobody, right? If you don't even count that. So like, so absolutely, I feel like that's a whole other thing. Like, especially if you're bringing the emotional, like, and where they shine, where they lack, like with their mental capacity. But at least for the power scheme of things and whatnot, like throughout, like definitely always similar. Like, and I feel like they hit that true rivalry ballpark. Well, honestly, I would go as back to where Naruto, when he obtains Raisen Shuriken, that's when I would say, okay, now he's starting to like try to be in a way where he's around Sasuke, right? Like I think Sasuke was still superior to him at that point,
Mhm.
but like
Oh, for
he's
sure.
approaching the wavelength, right? And then the next, which is just flat out like where they're definitely like within that ballpark again, and now you can maybe say more in favor for Naruto is when Naruto has Sage Mode, right? And like you have that point where now it's Naruto, whatever, but then Sasuke gets the MS, right? And now it's like, okay, 5K summon side. Like there's always that similar dynamic that does go on, and they're always particularly in a similar ballpark, whatever this, and then you get the Warwick, same fucking shit, right? KCM, EMS, then Naruto has the KCM 2, and things just go, right? And then in that same exact vibe is always the same, even in Boruto, where Sasuke is literally the only guy that's considered an actual rival or threat to Naruto, right? I mean, so like without a question, definitely there. I just feel like, especially in the war arc and definitely Boruto, it's still in favor for like Naruto's still the strongest though, right? Like they're comparable,
Yeah.
they can fight, but Naruto is that guy still. If it really
Yeah.
came down to it, he held back in the fight at the end of the day, towards the end.
He held
So
back.
there's that
Yeah.
too. Yeah, but anyway.
There's that, and there's the fact that the functionalities that each serve in the war arc is different enough to point out. So Sasuke never had to distribute his own chakra to an entire alliance. He never had to literally, backpack a war with
Yeah.
multiple clones fighting multiple Kage level individuals. So to put into perspective, Naruto was able to, even while weakened, rival Sasuke in power enough to help him fight Jubito, and then later on beat Sasuke while holding back, while Sasuke wasn't holding back. Again, weakened while Sasuke didn't have to sacrifice as much chakra because he wasn't aiding an entire alliance. Now, I'm not saying that again. I'm not saying Sasuke is far weaker because clearly he's not. He wouldn't. That fight wouldn't have been competitive if he was. He is comparable in power to Naruto. Naruto just has a different gear at that point. By the time the war arc is concluding, specifically because of Kurama's, him and Kurama's chemistry, his chakra supply, the physical prowess that a KCM2 Sage Mode provides. While conversely, Sasuke, while arguably having more versatility in his arsenal, does have perhaps more limited chakra, which is why he had to siphon from the tailed beast when he was essentially amping
But
himself
like Jay,
against
it's
Susanoo.
not fair either. Like honestly, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be with you. It's just MC type fucking treatment, really. If you really like, if we're really being like if Sasuke was the MC instead, okay, then he'd be like fucking Boruto, where he has this fucking karma or whatever, or something that like is outrageously fucking ridiculous, right? And broken and can just
Yeah.
save the give him grace, whatever. Sasuke didn't have that luxury and the same benefits that Naruto had at the end of the day. Like he doesn't. Like it's just
Facts.
what Jay said beautifully. Like Sasuke has instead, he has the EMS, he has his son, all these things like arsenal wise, like yeah, a lot more convenient and better in comparison to Naruto. And he's also tech. I know this is a whole other fucking thing. Here we go. But what if you guys want to entertain it right after? I would say Sasuke is more intelligent than Naruto, like more of a
Yeah,
threat
he is.
wise. I'm not saying Naruto is stupid. He's definitely smart, blah blah. That's a whole other thing. But like overall, like when the villains are fighting them, who is the villain complimenting? Like who's the villain actually like, oh,
Yeah.
I can do with this
Usually
guy
Sasuke.
first, right? It's always Sasuke. Jubimato did with Sasuke, Jiren does it with Sasuke, etc. Right? It wasn't because like, oh, Sasuke's stronger. No, it's just because he has that intelligence. That's a threat alone, and with his hacks and his arsenal, that alone is a severe threat in correlation and combination of Naruto
Yeah.
fighting with them, right? And that's just all it is. And if they get rid of him, the more weaker one, and with the all that other shit, then there you go. Now it's a lot easier to just deal with the powerhouse, aka Naruto. And like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, with Naruto, just like Jay said, like the motherfucker has infinite chakra basically. Like even if he
Basically,
runs
yeah.
out of fucking chakra, Kurama just starts amassing chakra and builds it up, and boom, now he has it again. Like the guy always has
Yeah.
chakra. He can do all these crazy fucking things. While Sasuke has a limited amount of chakra. That's just all he has,
Exactly.
right? And when he
Exactly.
uses his MS abilities, whether if it's a Mataratsu, Susanoo, that drains his power. While Naruto, he's technically getting stronger when he uses his power. Like it's just a whole different thing. It's like so at the end of the day, like really when you really analyze it, like Sasuke, he's no fucking joke, bro, because he basically has the odds against him, but yet he's still able to be a competitor, do the things he can do, whatever, so on and so forth, yada yada yada. So like again, it's just more of a convenience factor, right? That's really what it
Yeah.
is. If Sasuke had a fucking karma, or maybe even the curse mark still at that point, or if he had a fucking Biju at that point, and if he was in Jinchuriki, I don't
That'd
think
be
Naruto's
wild.
winning that shit. I don't think he's winning. I think he would have
Yeah.
definitely fucking lost. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah. He because
that's all I'm saying. Like if you actually
yep.
think about it, analyze their first fight in the Valley of the End. Why did really Sasuke won? Not because mainly his Uchiha power. It was because of the curse mark. Because he actually had a
Facts.
crutch, something he can rely, similar to Naruto, which was the Nine Tails. But then eventually Sasuke loses that, and he's even more forced to try to rely on his own sense of power or his own genetics or whatever. And that's just all he has, right? But if Sasuke had the fucking curse mark in their final fight, that would have been a very big deal. Honestly,
It would be a
at that
big
point,
deal.
like I think Naruto would have probably lost again.
Yeah.
Maybe potentially. So like overall, like that's all I'm getting at. It was more of a convenience factor, but that's just my general consensus. I know I said a lot. If you guys want to tag on that and just finish it, by all means. But it's interesting though. It's cool. So
Yeah. I
So
think
you both sort of said it, and this is where it gets interesting. But comparing Naruto versus Sasuke, you can make a lot of narrative to power scaling analysis here. So looking at like a more broad general level, Naruto as a genre is in the battle shonen genre. It has like other elements such as romance, but no one's going to go around saying that Naruto's in the romance genre. Where this is important is that Naruto is a story. First and foremost, that's the thing that matters. It's a fictional
yeah.
story meant to entertain or, I guess, educate to some degree spiritually the audience. It's not necessarily meant to be a something just to look at for the fights, even though that's obviously a plus. But that's to say the two things are intertwined, though, because it's in that genre, so it has to matter. What that means is that the power scaling, it should be consistent for the narrative. If the power scaling is off or inconsistent, that is a flaw to the story itself. Because what the power scaling is supposed to be and what it represents is it's not supposed to just complement, but it's supposed to make the narrative consistent as like a foundation. It's sort of setting the foundation for what the narrative is supposed to be. And it's sort of what it entails going back and forth between what's taken the priority there. So here's where it gets interesting because, like you're saying, the difference between Naruto versus Sasuke, it's not just physically, you can see it narratively as well, to where Naruto, he's like the loud and proud, bombastic, explosive, the hyperactive, knuckleheaded ninja, number one hyperactive knuckleheaded ninja. But at the same time, Sasuke is the quiet, loner, versatile genius. He's like more sharper and he's more precise. So whereas Naruto may have a higher ceiling to, like endure like a ninja, like the theme of Naruto, to where he's proven what that means. Sasuke has like the higher floor to where he's more consistent as a fighter. And at the end of the day, narratively and physically, whereas Naruto's supposed to
because
win,
he has to.
exactly.
Right? Like he has to. Like Naruto got infinite fucking senso beams with his goddamn Nine Tails or Sage mode. You know what I mean?
Much.
While Sasuke, if he makes error, he's fucked.
Yeah,
like, yeah, absolutely.
In a way, I'd argue that Sasuke is actually the superior combatant. Maybe not as a ninja or ideologically speaking, but to an extent, him being alone. So, yes, Naruto wins because he has his comrades. But if he doesn't have his comrades, if he's on the same playing field as Sasuke, Sasuke should win that. Just based on that alone, which is kind of funny. But that's almost the point with the final fight, to where Sasuke should be the superior combatant. The point is that Naruto has to overcome that to prove what a ninja is and what that means. And it can't be easy. It's literally the final obstacle of the story. In fact, in that final fight, you have Sasuke tell Naruto that Naruto's shadow clones highlight his weakness, his loneliness. That right there, it intertwines the physical power scaling and the arsenal between the two, how they fight and how that reflect their characters, both in terms of physical battle scaling, power scaling battles, whatever, and their personalities. So I think that's a perfect representation of the conflict between the two characters, because Naruto and Sasuke are supposed to represent polar opposites. They're literally yin versus yang, the moon versus the sun, etc., light versus darkness. Their arsenals are supposed to be literally night and day, opposites of one another. And I think they do reflect that through this fighting style. I think that's almost genius in the way that Kishimoto is able to convey that, and how similar he's able to make them in terms of how they should feel in terms of battle, yet how opposite they make them at the same time.
Yeah, Naruto and Sasuke, their arsenals definitely reflect their personalities. That's for sure. I do agree that Sasuke definitely has a better battle IQ, just pure IQ. His IQ is higher than Naruto's. Naruto's definitely no slouch though. His IQ is it's respectable. And I do think because of their arsenals, their strengths and weaknesses are, like you said, very opposite of each other. Sasuke is probably more technical to an extent, while Naruto is more powerful, like brute power. He's the superior. Um, but simply put, I think, like Batman said, he's a living chakra generator because of the Nine Tails. While Sasuke, conversely, is more so like this, very cunning and, like you said, precise ninja that can just throw many different.
Oh, I use my Susanoo. Oh, I'm out of chakra. Yep, give me 3 days. I'll be back, guys.
Exactly. Yeah, his margin for error, is definitely smaller than Naruto's. Like if Naruto gets, even if it gets fucking, besides getting his head cut off, hypothetically, he'll fucking heal. If Sasuke gets his arm blown off or his leg blown off, he's cooked. So it's definitely different. But again, Sasuke is still comparable to Naruto. I mean, he's a threat to Naruto.
Yeah.
Like Oodie said, like Jay, but that's what makes them such interesting, complex, paralleled characters. It's just it's really, really like it's just crazy. It's just crazy, man. Like at the end of the day, you could analyze them in so many different spectrums and wavelengths. Like, it's just great, and that's exactly why, like he was saying before, they just shine in certain areas more, vice versa, whatever, blah blah, you name it. And that's just what it is. But no, absolutely what Jay's saying, like if Sasuke was completely equal in power or had the same benefits as Naruto, Naruto would be fucked. He'd be absolutely fucked. He'd be cooked. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And that's why, like, for instance, like Sadara, she's an interesting one because I'm hoping it does happen. But if she gets a hold of 100 heals and has the access to an enormous amount and a massive fucking chakra and healing regeneration, blah blah, that's a big fucking deal because that's something Sasuke wished he always had fucking access to and shit. Like
something he would really like to have.
Yeah, right. Like so, like that's what I'm saying. But to make this even more crazy to think about, guys, this overall just to really really think about, like, because Oodie was like he was talking about like the differences between them and whatnot and why this is the way it is. The fun fact, Naruto could have very easily went the direction Sasuke went way from the fucking get-go. Like in the beginning, there was a point in time in Naruto where he had the decision where he was just gonna leave the village. He was just tired of it all, right? Because he was the Nine
Mhm.
Tails, whatever. What was that motherfucker name? Mitsuki, whatever. I don't even know what his
Mizuki,
fodder
yeah.
ass. He was shown one, yeah,
Oh,
and then
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and he
yeah.
wasn't shown ever again until fucking the anime. Like we had a curse mark, and he still
Mizuki,
got
some
bitched.
shit.
Yeah, and he still got
Yeah,
bitched by Naruto, like even with a curse mark. But anyways,
facts.
what's it called? It was filler, but it was still cool. Either way, at the end of the day, like fucking at that point in time, like if it wasn't for Aruka and what happened with all that, like he arguably, like I would say, he would have just left, right? He would have been a lone wolf, went whatever, and it could have been like a potential Obito situation all over again, or it could have just went a whole other fucking route where he's just, and or maybe Obito could have took advantage, started manipulating, whatever, blah, or who knows? Maybe he just gets kidnapped and now the Nine Tails taken out and just goes from there, right?
He
Who the fuck
dies.
knows?
Yeah.
Point being said is he was gonna go that solitude route and just say fuck everybody, and that again is eventually brought back way further on when he sees Gara, when he's like, oh shit, this is what I could have been. Where I'm just fighting for myself, I'm being alone, whatever, like, and using my power of darkness, blah blah. Like that concept comes back again and reminds Naruto, like this could have easily been me, right? And he goes back to that moment where he was always left alone, but me, I found people in the end, right? And that's really important because that's the whole thing with Sasuke too. That's why like Gara could relate to Sasuke. That's why he viewed him really strong, whatever, blah, all this shit, whatever, because Sasuke went through the same exact fucking parallel and similar thing. So like Naruto could have had the actual potential to be in his shoes, and whatnot, and go through that. And that's where it just makes it even more interesting. Like, how drastically does that change things? Could that drastically change how he fights, his juice arsenal, blah, blah? Like, it gets even more crazy to kind of fucking think about, is what I'm getting at. And then for Sasuke, you can kind of advocate, like, if the Uchiha were never fucking murdered, right? And he actually had everybody, and now he's more on the Naruto side of things where he's more leaning on people or his family, whatever. How does that change? Like, point being said is they both could have been in each other's shoes. And that is also shown in Naruto as well, with the aspect of when they do the Rising on and Shidori clash after the Five Color Summit, after Sasuke bitches Danzo. It, like, they literally have a moment where they're like, "Oh, our shoes could have been reversed, right?" And it shows him with
Exactly.
the Shidori. So like again, like I'm just being real. Kishimoto is just a goated fucking writer, bro. Like he really is. Like there's just so many ways to analyze it as a whole, and just how perplexed Naruto is. It's really really interesting, man. It's really interesting. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I want to
the
say.
complexity of like the themes, the ideologies, the paths of the very pivotal characters, the way he paved these routes or these pathways make it very easy to have conversations of what ifs and ideological influences depending on the paths of these characters. That's just a testament to Kishimoto's brilliance when it comes to not only like O said, making very visually aesthetically pleasing battles, but actually very deep developed characters that have a great amount
That
of
board still can't
humanity
hold a
in
candle
them.
to. Sorry to cry about it, but hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's facts. Yeah,
All
exactly. The
right, here
villainy.
we go. They're probably gonna rage at this point. Here, they're all gonna come in the boards of fans, or Troy, like what the fuck you said, Spirit Bomb, and fucking blow me up. But hey, fucking, I'm just being real. Like, I'm sorry, Boruto will never hold a candle to Naruto's writing. There's just so many fucking layers on it, bro, and elements, and it's just a whole other fucking thing, dude. Like that's why I'll say, I'll swear all day, every day, hands down, Naruto. Even if you're comparing it to other fictional animes and mangas, like it's just really really fucking great in that aspect. It really is, dude.
Very
With
in
the
depth.
writing,
Yeah, it's
yeah, very in
very
depth.
very complex.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess just to reiterate my point, because I think this is really interesting. I do want to just hang on this for a little bit longer. Naruto and Sasuke have different personalities, and again, this is just to reiterate what I was already saying. But Naruto and Sasuke, they have opposite personalities, and their arsenals reflect their personalities. What that
Yeah,
means is that their arsenals are opposites of one another. So when Naruto and Sasuke clash, we can actually see that. We see both their differing personalities when they clash in the story, and we see how their different arsenals stack up against one another when they clash in the plot. So it's cool because in a way they're both of them are each other's strength and weakness. Obviously, for Naruto and Sasuke, their arsenals are their strengths, because their arsenals reflect them and their personalities and their fighting style, obviously. But Naruto and Sasuke are in a way the worst matchup for one another And we actually get to see that. Every time Sasuke goes out of his way to fight Naruto using Naruto style, getting away from like the quiet, like almost like Onbu type of assassin style, the quiet type, to where he'll just cut up, like sneak up behind you and cut your head off or whatever. Instead of that, sometimes Sasuke will just confront Naruto head on with a big, powerful, flashy jutsu. In fact, Sasuke notes that they just like equal each other out when they do that in their part 1 clash, like their first Rasengan Chidori clash in the final valley at the end of part 1. Sasuke notes that that Sasuke can't just keep doing that, because if he does that, they'll just equal each other out. And Sasuke's going to gas out first if he fights Naruto using Naruto's fighting style. That's Naruto's strength. That's not Sasuke's strength. So Sasuke needs to use his strength, and Sasuke takes note of this. Sasuke changes his fighting style to go back to Sasuke's normal fighting style. He's done trying to prove his point to Sasuke, to Naruto, because obviously they have like this like emotional tie going on in their clash. That's why Sasuke uses his Chidori against Naruto's Rasengan in the first place. But after this, Sasuke does go back to his normal fighting style, and it does outclass Naruto, who Naruto doesn't do anything different. Naruto he stays the same, whereas Sasuke is the one who physically changed in the encounter right after that, and then Sasuke does win. He activates his curse mark, he just gets behind Naruto, and he Chidoris him. It's a very quick exchange, but Sasuke immediately wins. We also see this later on in part 2. Whenever Sasuke uses his Sameno Teshikar, his Rinnegan, to teleport behind Naruto, he just does get a free hit on Naruto. He's just able to use strategy, ninja tactics, using his fighting style, and he just does win. But whenever Sasuke gets annoyed or emotional, because it's Naruto, of all people to match up against, he had to have Naruto, he does resort to Naruto's fighting style. He uses Indra's Arrow. It's a clash of physical dominance to prove his physical superiority. He's in a way stooping down to Naruto's fighting style, and because of that, they even out again. So now, Sasuke, he's at the disadvantage. He fought Naruto to equal out. Now Naruto, using his own fighting style, he has the advantage over Sasuke, and Sasuke gasses out. Naruto, when he's gassed out, he can keep fighting. Sasuke can't fight to the same proficiency, because that's really what Sasuke's about. He's about accuracy. Naruto wasn't really ever about that. He's just about spamming an OP jutsu in your face, and that's really where Naruto shines. In a way, it's like the yin energy versus the yang energy, the mental energy versus the physical energy. Once Sasuke runs out of one, he's sort of toast, whereas Naruto, he has the stamina to last for days, so he's able to keep fighting, and because of that, that's in a way, that's why Naruto wins in the end.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think another aspect that is illuminated with the fact that Sasuke adjusts and Naruto doesn't is perhaps he lacks the conviction Naruto does. Yeah, he does have like this idea and this, vision of becoming a dictator and just dominating the world with power and creating a revolution as he describes it. But him changing his fighting style almost insinuates or implies that he has doubts in his conviction, while Naruto stands firm in his own and continues to fight the way he always does, and that gives him the victory. It can almost be said, or at least it could be predicted, that the reason those series of events were played out in the way they were was because Kishimoto was implying that Naruto's conviction was stronger than Sasuke's. Not only was he stronger power wise, but his conviction and his own ideology was superior to Sasuke's.
Exactly.
So
Well,
it,
we see
it's
that. We see
yeah,
that throughout the fight. At the very beginning, before the fight even starts, Sasuke grabs the leaf. He looks at Naruto. He thinks about cutting him down, and he looks down at the leaf, and he hesitates. He stops for a moment. He lets go of the leaf, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna do this." So you can see Sasuke's wavering before the fight even begins, unlike Naruto, who stays
yeah,
headstrong, looking at Sasuke, staring him dead down the whole time. That you see that throughout the entire fight, even going to the very
yeah,
end. Sasuke at the very end, "I'm gonna kill you because you're my closest friend." Whereas Naruto, he looks at his headband, he gets the resolve to do his uppercut for the, I guess, penultimate final clash. Naruto wins that exchange as well. So you get to see this idea to where Sasuke's wavering throughout the entire fight. He just can't finish off Naruto. He says he wants to do it, but he's not necessarily blind to it, to his own emotions, but in a way he's blind to what he's doing, to where that's what leads to his downfall. Whereas Naruto, he believes in himself full-heartedly. Sasuke, he can say it, but does he truly feel it? He doesn't know. He thinks he knows, but
Yeah,
that's where he falters.
exactly. He's trying to convince himself almost.
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
you guys are spitting facts, like absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. Like again, when it comes, mind you, we're just talking about fucking Naruto and Sasuke right now. Like imagine other
Yeah,
characters, or imagine other, like again, like it's already as complex as it is. But you guys said it very beautifully. Well said. It's very interesting shit, man. That's again, I think that's what makes Naruto so special. It's just the layers upon layers, the elements of it, and just it's not as simple as black and white, right? And
yeah.
that gets into the scheme of things of whether if we're talking narratively and power scaling, or if we're just simply as like whether if you include that or not, fuck that, you could just go straight to the bean gravy and biscuits and just be like, oh, here's these feats and here's this and yada yada yada. Whether if it's statements, whether if it's feats, or whether if it's narrative, it's something, right? But like with Sasuke and Naruto, like their dynamics are fucking peak. It was on point. But most importantly, like again, I'll just stand on this fucking hill. Like Sasuke, he was always forced to kind of like adjust, right, and improvise because of what he has and what he's dealt with and given. While Naruto had that grace and luxury, with what he has, which is why he's typically always, straight on, right, and just doing what he does, and that's, I know there's more to that and other reasons too, but there's that as well, right? And where if Sasuke
Yeah,
didn't have the same thing and he wasn't really forced, then he could just go to a whole other thing. But it's interesting, man. It's really cool.
yeah, it
It's
definitely is. But
yeah.
yeah, go into the chat real quick. What's going on,
Oh yeah.
Luis? What's going on, Raspberry? Um, adult Naruto and Sasuke versus current Luffy. They're at an open space. Luffy would get cooked. He'd get cooked, completely cooked by
I
Naruto and
haven't seen
Sasuke.
One Piece, so I can't really say, man. But yeah,
Same.
I think Jay
Yeah,
has.
from my understanding, they don't even touch planetary. From my understanding, and correct me if I'm mistaken. And Naruto and Sasuke, as adults in their primes, far surpass planetary. They would cook Luffy. They
Or
would
at least on that
perception
level. Let's say if you don't even think they surpassed it, at least on that level, bare minimum.
Yeah,
Like
they would perception blitz Luffy before he could perceive what happens, and he would be deceased. It'd be very quick if they wanted to make it that way. He would be deceased before he even knows, before his brain can process what happened. That's the superiority that they have. Um, but speaking of media, it's been a good year for media. JJK has been peak. That's another great narrative, in my opinion. The season 3 anime has been great. Invincible, another animated show, not an anime, but an animated show has been great. Um, seems like a pretty promising year so far for media, from anime to movies to shows. Very promising. Um, but yeah, folks, you guys have questions, feel free. See, you might be doing TikTok streams. Yeah, I experimented with it a couple times. I know TikTok's a different world. Uh, but yeah, I mean, uh, when was the last Pokemon game you played? Man, since I was a kid, I don't remember what the last one I played was. It's been a long time.
Oh, before I forget though, Odie might like know maybe more because I know he goes really in depth or does research on a lot of things. But that whole fucking snake sage mode shit though, like, what do you guys really think on it? Like, what's like what's the true like fucking aspect of that? Like overall, from what you've seen in Boruto and Shippuden and throughout. Like I always thought that was a really weird, interesting concept. Like it was like you get like a good amount of information, but it's still vague and truly understanding it as a whole sense. Because like there's a big difference between Sage Mode Kabuto's Sage Perfect Sage transformation and
Yeah,
and Orochimaru's son. It's like like I don't know. It's just weird, bro. Like there's a lot. And then you have like
yeah,
Orochimaru, like where he technically has like a pseudo version of it, and like it's incomplete, but like he's clearly a snake, right? Like he's doing all this weird shit and blah blah. Like I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that or if you like what you think is the true answers to it, but I was just curious on that. 'Cause that's always been a
yeah.
weird fucking thing.
I
No.
think Orochimaru's snake sage mode. First of all, we all know he got denied from being a real sage by the sage gods or whatever. They said he was too evil. So he went. he went to make this like synthetic sage mode, which is his snake sage mode. He extrapolated like the curse mark from Jugo and like genetically engineered this like
He has
fake
like
curse
that
mark
big
from that.
eight-headed snake transformation shit. Like whether if that's
Yeah,
like part of it or
That's
not, I
all
don't
good.
know.
yeah, and it
Uh,
seems like as time went on, it improved upon itself. So obviously, Orochimaru had some form of it. He gave it to Sasuke, the Sound Four, Kimimaro. Then when we thought he died, Kabuto took it a step further and perfected himself. Obviously, there was other modifications on top of that. Like a lot of the Sound Force abilities were like embedded in his abilities alongside the Sage mode itself, the synthetic Sage mode. But he called it perfect. Um, Perhaps that's a term he utilized because he's just superior to Orochimaru at that point. Then in Boruto, Orochimaru seems to take it a step further when constructing and engineering Mitsuki. And Mitsuki seems to be so powerful that with Sage mode, he can contend with some very powerful individuals. So that's like perhaps the synthetic snake Sage mode being taken to even a further level.
Like, bro, like even
And
the alien, like that one alien dude, part of that clan, like he would like when he
yeah,
saw Mitsuki's power, he was like, "Wait, what the fuck?" He's like, "Oh," and he
Urashiki,
immediately
yeah,
like took that power away. Yeah, he took the power with like that fucking weird fishing rod bullshit. And
yeah,
he's like, "Nope,
that
stop
dude
that shit."
was.
Like,
I think he was only
filler.
canonical to the anime. Yeah, he's
Yeah, to
filler,
the
so he's
anime.
not even
Yeah.
canon to fucking manga. But he was
But the
weird
whole
as fuck
point, like
because
what you were saying, Jay, like every time
yeah,
Mitsuki brought that power, it was clearly a big deal. And from what I got from
huge
it, and
deal.
it seems like we're on the same page. That is the actual like perfection Snake Sage. But like if you actually really
Facts,
get to that peak, that's what it really is. And it's so cool because like it's like fucking KCM Snake Cloak basically. It's fucking cool. You know what I
facts.
mean?
The
Um,
only like
yeah.
anti feat, it's not even an anti feat, but the only like bad showing it had was a few chapters ago in Boruto when Mitsuki tried to attack Boruto, but Boruto was already like that guy, and he got bitched by
Yeah, he just went
Boruto,
against
like
the
bitched
wrong
him.
motherfucker, literally.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it
like
made it look really. It made it look like, well, what's the point of Sage Mode at that point? Right? Like, or it's just fucking
yeah,
trash. Like, it's kind
No.
of like
You
late.
wanna
It's
you
like,
wanna talk
but
about
yeah,
ruining Mitsuki? You're not thinking
yeah,
the right fight. I'm thinking the Sand Arc when they're fighting Matsuri and Ryu. When Mitsuki pulls
oh
out
yeah,
his Sage Mode to fight Claw Grime. Bro, he's a Claw
yeah.
Grime victim. They ruined Mitsuki's Sage Mode in that moment.
yeah. I don't know
Unbelievable.
why they
Unreal.
decided that.
Oh,
Like
he was about to summon
Boruto,
that to like have a either just slam the fuck at him, or he was gonna like or have a good fight, and then
Why
he's like,
would
oh
he
shit, wait,
do
I
that?
can't do this. Like, like I'll get in
Unreal.
trouble. Because let's be real, like Konoha takes Sage Mode very fucking seriously. Like, even though it is like filler, but like there is that moment where like Naruto's like doing the training exams again or whatever, some bullshit, and he's fighting against Konohamaru. And they literally tell him like flat out like Sage Mode is not allowed. It's not fair, whatever, just fight, with you, right? And
Yeah.
with his power alone, he's already fucking ridiculous. 'Cause at that point, I think that was like that somehow, some way was taking place like after the whole pain arc shit. But anyways, but yeah, that was going on, and then like he summons in the end, and he gets disqualified. So like it's kind of like that's the closest you ever get to like seeing Sage Mode in a sense being partaken in tuning exams, even though it's
Mhm.
fucking filler. But then you have like Mitsuki and the boards or whatever. And it's like then it just gets to the point where it's like, would that be the same? Would they classify that as a no-no? Because Mitsuki only didn't do it because his father asked him not to, because Orochimaru didn't want to deal with the politics of things and blah blah. And who knows? Maybe they would be pissed. Who the fuck knows, right? But overall, like I always thought that was interesting too. Like, would he have even been allowed? Like, I would
I
say
think
this.
so.
I don't. Yeah, I think so because I don't see why not. Because from like, correct me if I'm wrong, Oodie, like fucking in the tuning exams, the only reason why Sasuke wasn't allowed to use the curse word whatnot because he didn't outright earn it, right? It's not fair. Like it's just, oh, here you
Well, no,
go, blah blah.
so for
You
that,
know,
the reason
yeah,
is that Sasuke was banned from using it. And first of all, that was just Kakashi's personal rule. There was no tuning exams rule that Sasuke would be disqualified if he would use the curse mark. That just didn't exist.
yeah.
But the reason was because it's a danger to Sasuke, and especially because Sasuke needs to, ignoring the tuning exams, he needs to go on to become stronger for his actual goal to kill Itachi. So don't use the curse mark. Obviously, don't be stupid
Yeah,
here.
and they told him like if you do it, then you will be disqualified, right? Like so, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Fucking but that's why I think it's interesting because like you have that moment right where people think about it, but then you have the moment where like Naruto, the only reason why like that was mainly accepted or whatever is because in a sense, even though it was incomplete, it was him in a way like a pseudo way of mastering the Nine Tails power, right? And using it to amplify his stats. Whatever. It wasn't like he's just going on a straight up
Yeah.
fucking rampage, right? To where they'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no, fuck that. He doesn't know whatever. Now we got to stop it. I feel like if you outright earn it and you know what I mean, you obtained it, which is why they had no problem with it. And even Harrison was like, when the fuck did he like learn to master the Nine Tails in this sense or whatever, blah blah. Like they're okay with it, right? So like that's something like more. I would feel like with that. It would be okay. I don't see why they wouldn't allow it. Like they probably be like, oh fuck, like this guy has Sage mode, and then, and I'm no offense, but that Sand dude's probably fucking cooked. I don't.
Yeah,
Me
you're right,
personally,
you're right.
if it went on, I do think he would have lost. It would have kind of been like Gara and Sasuke all over again. Like, oh, bam, Shidori's out. Oh, boom, Sage mode, he loses. But anyways, but I always thought that was interesting.
Well,
I don't know what
actually,
you're.
I just did a full series rewatch of Naruto, including everything.
Yeah.
The movies, the video game adaptations, everything. All of Naruto,
Nice.
all of Shippuden, all of the filler. So this
Yeah.
obviously includes the OVA, where Naruto fought Konohamaru in the tuning exams, and he used Sage Mode and became disqualified. The reason specifically that they list that the Sage Mode was banned for that year was because they specifically knew Naruto was taking the tuning exams, and they wanted to put in that rule specifically because they didn't want Naruto to have an
Give
unfair
him a
advantage
fucking
above everyone
chance.
else.
You're
It's like,
Exactly.
oh, like
Yeah.
that's like Hashirama joining, the tuning exam for some weird ass shit, and it's like, oh, you're already ridiculous. Please don't do Sage Mode. That's like overkill.
Exactly.
Like
So
nerfing his ass, that's crazy work.
So it's not anything to do with Sage Mode. It was just strictly actively because Naruto was much stronger than all the other combatants. If all the other combatants were Naruto's level, I think Sage Mode would have been allowed. Likewise, if the village didn't realize Naruto had Sage Mode, then if Naruto used Sage Mode, I don't think he would have been disqualified. Even if they realized what it was, because going into it, it wasn't already banned or whatever for Naruto to have the advantage or whatever. So, likewise for this instance with Mitsuki, the reason he doesn't want to use it has nothing to do with the tuning exams. It's because the village isn't aware that Mitsuki has a Sage Mode. If the village becomes aware of it, they're going to outright banish him from the village. Ignore the tuning exams. This isn't even about whether or not he'd be banned from the tuning exams or disqualified. As far as we know, he wouldn't be. This is about the village itself kicking him out because they're, first of all, most, like 90% of villagers aren't aware that he's Orochimaru's child, and that would be a problem all in of itself. But his Sage Mode is strictly a secret from literally everyone. I don't think a single person there knew he had Sage Mode. And that's just a huge safety risk or whatever the reason is for the village, that they obviously don't want Mitsuki to have that in the village if he's Orochimaru's child.
The only speculation they ever had at that point in time with Boruto was like, because there was a moment where Naruto's like, how the fuck did they survive from that Deppa guy with the Kara or whatever, blah, blah, like, this and this, and he was like really thinking upon it, but the reason why they survived is because Mitsuki did a last minute Sage Mode, and he was actually now able to, in a way, have some relativity to that guy.
Exactly. Deepa's calling him the most dangerous guy there with the smallest flicker of Sage Mode. He's speed blitzing Orochimaru. Like, bro, I'm just saying, Mitsuki's the strongest character in Naruto Next Generations. Change my mind.
Yeah, no, he was cracked, dude. Like, and that's a big deal because like that Deepa or Deppa guy, the fuck his name is, I already forgot. What's it called? Like that dude, he was really strong to the point where like he was like a Jonin level threat at that, like in the Boruto era, right?
Easily,
like regardless how we're classifying these powers or whatever, low Kage Jonin, that was the type of deal he was, right? He was really, really fucking powerful, and only Mitsuki at that point in time actually could do something, and that's why they lived to begin with, was because of Mitsuki. And then, because at that point in time, that's when they were just mainly tuning level, and then they got a slap to the face, like, oh, this is what an A rank fucking mission is like, and like the real deal, and like where things get even more crazier. And then because of that, they have their training arc where now they're getting to that Joning level, right? Like in approaching, like where they're able to fight against threats like that. Because when they have the rematch, that's when Boruto has like the compressing rising on, which is like a Shidori rising on the way, which can fuck with that guy. Sadaru has like now the shotting and all this other shit, whatever. And it just goes on, whatever. Like there's like two different points. Which speaking of Boruto, shout out to Jay the Great. If you guys haven't seen the video, he did a video on Boruto, like kid Boruto and the tuning exams and whatnot. From that video, from what I've seen, he only covered the like the early Boruto, so like just tuning level, right? Which makes sense to make it fair. Like it'd be really stupid to But anyways, that's the other thing. But like, so we're not like it's not like the Boruto like with the training where now he has to get to that Jonin level where he's now fighting that like robot dude and then Deppa and all that shit, whatever. That's a whole different Boruto, right? Because that Boruto I think would fucking slam and clap. The fucking part one. Because at least me, I don't know about Oda like or how he views it. The Konoha 12 and Part 1 Naruto, I don't think necessarily they were all Joning level, like Kakashi level and things like that, whatever. I think they were all flat out tuning level. Like it was pretty crystal clear. Sasuke was flat out stated that. Yeah, at best, Naruto, you name it. Naruto's only thing in his arsenal was like the Toad, which put him further beyond. Better than that, like they were all like tuning. Like same thing with Neji, things like that.
Well, hang on, are
like,
people saying that now? That the Konoha 12 were Kakashi level? Bro, the Power Stone community is so cooked. Who says that?
There's literally people. So I'm glad you're on the same page. I didn't know how you viewed that at first, but yeah, there's literally fucking people that dead ass think the Konoha 12 were like, well, I will at least say this, like the higher tiers of the Konoha 12, not necessarily like Kiba and whatever, blah blah. It'd be like Neji, Rock Lee, Naruto, and Sasuke were Joning level, like flat out, like Kakashi, they could participate and do. And it's like no, they're fucking not. It's clear as day. But they try to be sophist or make arguments for it, or like they'll try to use like the sound for like compare them like as full power Joning, and then now bring up
Kakashi.
Yeah, all this shit, and then the reason why because their logic is like, oh well, the Sound 4 are joining right when they're full power, but then they remove context, like the Sound 4 fight 2 joining from Konoha, right, and then they get severely nerfed because they had to use CM2, blah blah. So now they're very weakened, right? We know how that works, and you get weakened and fatigue. You're not the same, So now the getting actually have a fucking chance, or AK tuning, right? And now it's like kind of on the even playing field, even though the Sound 4 was still bitching them if you actually analyze it. So like. So yeah, anyways, but yeah, if you didn't know, people they do say that shit.
Yeah, some people think that like the bitch ass Sound 4 beat Kakashi. Like, bro, they got bitched by low like tier.
Yeah, they were low on chakra too. They had like no chakra too. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and they got bitched by. You think Kakashi would struggle with these bitches? Like, come on, bro.
No. Like Kakashi was sunning Sasuke and Naruto the whole time. Like if you got the filler, like he even has like a training session where they use Rising on and Chidori on him. And then he takes out he removes his headband for one moment, uses the shotgun, and he just bitches them with that shit. And then there was even the other moment when they were fighting on the rooftop, and he grabs their hand, bitches them. Like the whole entire time, I feel like it was very, very self-evident and clear that the Konoha 12 were not fucking Joning level. Like if you want to give them grace, and like I still think this is a high ball. But like, if you really want to try, you could argue for like One Tail Naruto or CM2 Sasuke to approach that level.
Maybe,
but even but even then, I still don't think so because if you look at fucking Two Tails Naruto or One Tails Naruto and fucking Shippuden, who's even more stronger, Kakashi still bitched him. Like exactly. And then when Naruto was enraged and bloodlusted with the QB amp. And trying to like speed blitz Data or whatever, or Sasori, you name it, Kakashi is literally fucking blitz. He's beating him first before he's stopping him. He literally grabs him and stops him. He gets in front of him a certain overall, like it's just like it's really hard for me to believe that you're gonna argue they're flat out that level of Joning power. But anyway, I know we steered a little bit off, but yeah.
So I just went through it in my head. So Choji needs the red pill to become 100 times stronger to beat Jirobo. So he's probably like 99 times weaker than Jirobo is Choji. Then we have Kiba. He flat out loses to Sakon Anuko and he gets bailed out. Shikamaru flat out loses to Taiyuya, needs Tamari to bail him out. Lee flat out loses to Kimimaro, needs Gaara to bail him out. Then you have Neji. Verbatim calls Kidomaru stronger than him.
Yeah, you got cooked.
I just covered them all, did I not?
Like he flat out says like this is the strongest opponent he's fought, and that would include QB Naruto, you name it, the whole nine.
He
flat out
directly says Kidomaru is stronger than him. There's no getting around.
Like, what's funny is that they were all fighting just one of them. All four of them needed to work together to beat like two weak ass fatigue Jonin. All four of them in CM2.
And in the manga, those Jonin are called the best of the leaf in the chapter that they lose.
Yeah. So that's how I say. Yeah, it's the fucking toothpick guy where he literally like enhances the toothpick with fucking chakra and makes it just as strong as a fucking kunai, which is ridiculous. But that's the same guy that has like flying Raijin, I think. But no, like but like that's what I'm saying. Like overall, like fuck it, no, it's people just try, like, again, people always try to look for ways or be weird or what, the whole nine. Whether if it's just pure ignorance or this them intentionally trying to be dishonest, but it is funny. But to like the backtrack what we were getting at before with the whole Mitsuki thing and whatnot in the Snake Sage mode, like I do agree in simple consensus, like that's the perfect Sage transformation. Kabuto was approaching it, but he still wasn't there yet. He was a lot farther than Orochimaru, but he wasn't there, right? Like, with everything he did. And Orochimaru, he just had like a artificial version of it, right?
So
But it
okay, I'm
wasn't
glad we're
as
going
good as
back to
Kabuto.
Orochimaru. So
Yeah.
okay, because both of you were agreeing with each other about Orochimaru's power scaling. I think he's probably a little bit higher. I understand why you guys say that, and I used to think that as well. So the moment that you mentioned was Orochimaru just flat out says that Itachi is superior to him. Do you factor in the context that this is when Orochimaru is nearing his end of the 3 year where his body's failing and he just lost his arms?
Well, that is
That
true,
is
but
that's
even
fair. Yeah, like at the present current time, like you're basically saying like there's the scenario where it's like, oh, he's only applying that to the current version of himself.
Exactly.
I get what
It's
you're saying.
definitely
Yeah,
possible. Well, you
yeah,
could argue it's actually consistent because this is funny. If you do the math, you'll actually realize that when Orochimaru tried to take Itachi's body originally when he fled the Akatsuki, he was also at that moment, at the same time, he's also at the end of his 3 year body transfer to where he needs the body. His body's failing. So he's at a nerfed, weakened version of it, like the deathbed version of Orochimaru. That's the one that tried to take Itachi's body. So
I don't know about that. I don't know if that's the
yeah.
case or not. He
Like I
definitely was
will.
stronger than
So
he was
the
then,
weird,
but
yeah, like the weird thing, like I'll say this, like with Orochimaru, like yeah, at that point that's valid. But see, like the where I say like there is a slight disconnect with that is the fact that right when he says that, then it shows what's it called? Like there's a flashback like showing connecting to that moment where it's like oh where it's like Orochimaru's in the Akatsuki. He's walking up, and that's when he has that like that little exchange with Itachi and whatnot. And at that point in time and moment, at least from what I remember from that scene and like and whatnot and seeing, he looked flat out healthy. Like he looks like ready to go, like whatever. And he was just being overconfident and arrogant and thinking he's about to slap Itachi like it's gonna be an easy no diff scenario, right? And
so
he
that's where
learned the
it's
fucking
weird.
hard way and then got bitched.
So
But
here's where I
so that's
agree with you because it seems like either Kishimoto didn't consider that
yeah,
or the intent just is what you're describing and it just is a flat out plot hole in terms of the events of the story. Because like
yeah,
again, we know how many bodies Orochimaru's taken. We see the number when he tries to take Sasuke and they're in the mental mindscape. You can do the math and then from there you can just figure out how long ago the Itachi Orochimaru thing was. We've done the math to where we know. So he should be at the end of the 3 years there. And again, like they say that Jiraiya says, he can only do it every 3 years. He can't take Sasuke's body for the next 3 years. If this is Orochimaru's second body that was meant to be Itachi, because he's already taken one at this point, then he should be at the end of his 3 years. That body should be failing. He should need a new vessel. That's why he's taking Itachi's body. That's why he can take Itachi's body. But all this is to say, because this is where it gets interesting, and this is sort of what I was trying to lead to earlier. As power scalers and debaters, I'm curious to get both of your perspectives on this. So this goes back to the idea that Naruto is a story first and foremost, but it's a battle shonen to where those two are intertwined. But obviously the author has intent, and sometimes he can be inconsistent and fail to properly convey the power scaling to where it is inconsistent. When that happens, do you think it's better to use it from an in-universe perspective, the events as they are, or do you think it's better to take the intent, even if that's not properly conveyed?
mm, so looking at the wait, let me double check before I say this because I want to be incorrect. I saw somewhere that said he could switch bodies at any time, but let me make sure that's not incorrect.
If you, it's
Okay,
also possible that it could be a retcon because again, Jiraiya says at the end of part 1 that he had to take a different body, so he can't take one for another 3 years. Sasuke's safe until then, so let's go train. You don't need to go after Sasuke right now. Likewise, it could have just been like a drop plot point because nearing that 3 mark period, Orochimaru is almost he doesn't say anything, but he almost implies that he's purposefully waiting because he wants Sasuke to grow even stronger before he takes his body, because he wants Sasuke at the absolute strongest, so he's trying to hold out as long as possible, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
But it's just weird
This
in that
is
regard.
like the issue with this though as a whole, and this I feel like this is where it's a whole other can of worms, and like there's a lot of it's ambiguous at this point. Is the problem with Orochimaru is like when he has this whole body thing and like the timer or whatever, blah blah, like we start seeing that emphasis, but that's during and after when he gets sealed by the Reaper Death Seal, to where it just flat out, we just know flat out with statements, with the narrative, you name it, like he's severely weakened because of it, because of the Reaper Death Seal. Like he got fucked up, he lost his arms,
Right.
whatever, blah. Like he has the whole fight and showdown with the Sawning. Like he has his respective nerf. Sanade has hers, you know, because she's rusty, hasn't done it in a long time, blood, whatever. And then Jiraiya because he was fucking poisoned by some fucking fart potion that Sanade made for him to make him ineffective in battle. So all three of them respectively had like all their shit going on, right? You know, and so on and so on. And then there is even, it's in the anime only, but it's even stated that they're at 50% of their power at that point in time too. So like overall, like it's really like that's basically what's going on. And then as we see like with his body and like how that process is, and we're getting information that is also during where he's falling apart because again of the Reaper Death Seal. So that's where it gets really confusing and weird, because we never really get that much information and how it all works when he's perfectly fine and not being affected by the Reaper Death Seal. That's why it's like really weird, because it's like, is it actually the body that's really fucking him up, or is it really a mix between the two with the Reaper and all this whatever? It basically gets to a point and it begs the question, like, does that actually weaken him when he's approaching that time clock, right?
Part of it could be the vessel itself, the strength of the vessel, because
Yeah.
Kamui is under the interpretation that if he did take a perfect vessel, quote unquote, if he did take Sasuke's body, or if Kimimaro never got sick and he took Kimimaro's body, he doesn't need to do the 3-year transfer anymore. He can stay in that body forever.
Mm.
And I
Yeah, so
was
that's
not
even
under
more
that
like
interpretation.
that's what I'm saying. Like, and then like when you see like for instance, like he fights Three Tails Naruto and then fights Four Tails Naruto, and don't get me wrong, he's getting fucked up. All right, he's only living because of his regeneration and hacks. You know, he's basically like an immortal like
To be
Katsuya
fair,
hit on
he's
him.
also having fun. He's not taking that fight seriously either.
Yeah, he was.
Well,
Yeah, he's having
at first he's not until he hits four. Once
yeah,
he hits
then
four tails,
yeah,
he
yeah.
leaves.
He does get like serious at a certain point. Like he is having fun or whatever, but like he is doing his best and trying to combat against them. But Naruto's clearly overpowering him the entire time. But the thing though is like eventually there's a point and moment in that battle where he's like he makes a statement, oh, this body is reaching his limit, whatever, blah, yada yada yada, because he's getting closer to that point where he needs to start finding a new host. So like, and then it gets to a point where it's like, oh, like does that just mean like his endurance is affected only, right? Like, you know, he has limits with that alone, or is it really affecting his power as a whole? Like that's where again it gets really weird and conflating and the whole nine.
Well, yeah,
Because
because
like
that's the thing. Because after this, after he's rested in the very same arc, like literally the same
yeah,
day, he's completely fine. So clearly, it's not a
exactly.
linear thing. It is just affecting his stamina, seemingly. But if that's the case, then that would
Yeah.
also apply to the first instance where he tries to take Itachi's body in the Akatsuki, because he hadn't fought yet. So that's technically a fresh Orochimaru. He shouldn't necessarily be nerfed at that moment.
Yeah,
If that's the
exactly.
case.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and then
Okay,
most
okay.
important, like, and even if it is like a stamina like limitation thing, like it's not like it's immediate or instant. Like, no, he still had enough gas to put on a fight with Four Tails Naruto, right? But then after a while it's going, like he's like, okay, I can't go. Like basically the way it was stated and the emphasis of it, it was mainly implied that if he was fully healthy or he just had a body and he wasn't approaching that point, he could have probably been able to entertain that fight a lot more longer, right? But he couldn't because of the circumstances, you know. So with all that being said, it's not like it's instantaneous. Like he has to fight whatever, but it does eventually have drawbacks where it does hinder him in a sense, not immediately, but as things go on, right? You know, like it does give him limitations in a sense. So like that again, that's the weird part. Like from when we just consistently see him interact with Itachi, it's just unfortunate. It's just always showing Itachi in a superior light. But I get
Well,
what you're
but
saying.
that's
Like,
also the
you
thing.
know, yeah,
That's entirely, in my opinion, because of Orochimaru's personality, not because of where he scales power wise. Yeah,
his
because
arrogance.
Orochimaru, he's obsessed with
Yeah.
Itachi. He's addicted to losing. He can't stand not staring Itachi directly in his eyes, knowing exactly what's going on. It's why he loses every fight with Itachi.
See,
Same
but I
reason
think
he
that's
lost
more of
against
a
Sasuke.
confident. Yeah, I think that's more of like an overconfident, arrogant issue he has, like where
100%, but that's why he's
he thought
losing.
he was that much. Yeah, where he was that much powerful, but he wasn't. Right? Itachi clearly was a threat and whatever. Blah, and that's interesting that you bring that up because that goes back to the whole thing with Minato and Obito, where like Minato's looking dead in his fucking eyes, right? So it does spike the argument of like, like if you scale high enough or whatever, you like Sharingan Genjutsu visual, like it's just not gonna do anything. Like that's not a win con anymore, or does it like that's a whole other fucking contentious topic where it's really weird and interesting. Now I will say like throughout from what we've seen with the statements and everything, I would say for the most part it is definitely a threat and a win con. Like there's a reason why guys like don't look in the eyes, blah blah, this whatever, and all the other moments. But I feel like when you get to like that high tier peak caliber of a shinobi, like high Kage level, whatever, it is in question or not whether if it is really truly actually effective, right? And so like if it's a scaling thing, right? So like it is really weird. But then with the Obito thing, that's weird too because we know he's controlling the Nine Tails. Like there's other factors involved, right? So like you can't really it's inconclusive, right? So like again, it is weird. But just to keep it very simple, like again, like when he makes that statement with Kabuto and he's all fucked up, whatever, that is that point in time where he's the weaker version. But then it goes all the way to that point and moment where it just shows flat out Itachi bitching him, and he looks healthy, right? He looks healthy. He looks like he's ready to go to fight. He was let into the Akatsuki, meaning he clearly is powerful enough to be an Akatsuki member. All this shit, whatever. And then Itachi's like, bitch, you're fucking trash. Like, fuck you. Like, and here's the thing. I don't think it was more of like an arrogance or like a miscalculating moment either, because after Itachi slices his arm off, he's immediately out of the Genjutsu. Like, he can still
Yeah.
fight. Like, we know Orochimaru can heal everything, the whole nine. Like, so like right after he got bitched just with Genjutsu, he still has a fighting chance. He could still put up a fight right there and then. He could, in theory, transform to the 8 fucking headed snake or whatever the fuck he wants to do. He could try to fight right there and then and easily repair and heal his arm. But he's like scared of Itachi at that moment. He's like, he literally knows like if he were to fight this guy, he's gonna fucking lose and he's gonna die. Like I feel like that's even more like like additional like narrative emphasis that like Itachi was superior than him at that point in time. But that's all I'm getting at. Like, if he really could still do things, like, or after he fucked up, then he would just kept on fighting, right? But it stopped right there. He knew his limit.
Yeah,
If
But
you
that's all I'm saying.
I
remember,
think
I think it's anime only, but we do get the extension of that scene to where it's actually Kabuto who interrupts that scene. Kabuto's the
Yeah,
one who stops the fight and gets Orochimaru out of there. It's not Orochimaru like runs away or anything.
yeah. He's like, hey, let's gotta go, whatever. But
I
that's
mean
the
either
thing,
way,
though.
if
Orochimaru, yeah. Either way, Orochimaru in character though, if he knows he can deal with someone or fuck, whatever, he fights. Like he just
Hilariously,
straight up
Orochimaru could
claps
have
him.
left
hold
because
up,
that's when his body started rejecting him.
Yeah, like he's always willing to
like
scrap. Like if he knows
some
he has it in the bag, he's gonna do it. Like the only time Orochimaru leaves if he knows that person is either superior or if it's just too fucking risky, right? And he doesn't want to gamble. Like he just always fucking
yeah,
runs and
and Orochimaru
But
is
yeah,
not dumb either. Like the
yeah,
vagueness of how his body reacts after the 3 years is
yeah,
still there, so we don't know if he was nerfed or not. The very fact that he decided to challenge Itachi insinuates and implies that he still deemed his body powerful enough to fight someone of that caliber.
yeah.
We don't see him like deathly ill until after the fight with Hiruzen. Again, this was his fight. He still felt confident enough to fight someone of Hiruzen's caliber as well. This was after Itachi, when his body was further rejecting him. He still deduced, okay, I can fight someone that's a Hokage, and he did, and he arguably won because he was alive and Hiruzen wasn't. It was after that that his body really started to become ill, and you could even argue that the reason he rushed the changing of body processes was because of his arms and not really because of his body failing him. His arms are literally fucking
That's
useless
what I'm
from like
saying, Jay. Like
Hokage
there's more
level.
complexity. Yeah, like because it's a
Yeah, so it's
mixture
not
of
just
things.
simply
Yeah,
just his body rejecting him because prior to his arms being removed, he felt more than confident enough fighting Hokages, fighting Itachi, fighting people that were very, very powerful. Of course, Itachi's superior to him, and I don't think there's any indication that he was vaguely nerfed or like fought like insanely nerfed at that point in time. Even against Hiruzen, which was a later point in time, he felt confident enough to fight him one on one. He even told his his minions to lock them in that 4 crimson barrier shit, and he's like, I can take this motherfucker right now, right here. So clearly he didn't think his body was that nerfed, and it wasn't because he basically won the fight. I mean, he lost his arms, but Hiruzen died, and he didn't. So,
Yeah, point
um,
being said, like Orochimaru has good comprehension of what he can deal with. Like even
yeah, he's
Kimura,
not
like
dumb.
the bone guy, like he flat out said, like if he was there, it would have been a smooth assassination. Like they would have killed Hiruzen easily. You know what I mean? Like no problem,
Together,
no
yeah,
boom done. You
exactly.
know, like together. But yeah, but because he's not there, whatever. Now he knows. Okay, this is actually gonna be something. Blah blah,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's why he had to go the way he went about it. You know, it's like he has good comprehension. You know,
So
Yeah,
that's
but
the
he can
thing.
be arrogant.
clearly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, I'm glad that you're saying that because I'm about to get to my creme de la creme here. I'm about to blow your mind. But before that, based on what you guys are saying, I think we would all agree Orochimaru is very capable, very intelligent, very able to read the level at which other people are at. He can just logically deduce the strength level of other people and where they scale, even in comparison to himself. That being said, I think he does do that with Itachi. I don't think that he is miscalculating where Itachi scales. I think so that's not to say it's not an overconfidence thing that he think that he can just beat him or whatever. I think it's just strictly greed. You know, if Ishiki was there instead of Itachi, he'd be slobbering at his mouth to take his body. Because that's the thing, he doesn't need to beat him in a fight. He just needs to do the body transfer jutsu. And that's what he tries to do. He doesn't try and beat Itachi. He just goes straight for the jutsu, and it just doesn't work because Itachi stops him in time. But I think that's what it is. It's like he's not even trying to fight Itachi. He's just not even worried about that. He's just moving on straight because of his greed to the next process, and that's really why he fails there. But okay,
I
but
think
getting to my point here. Sorry, sorry. So here's where I'm gonna blow your mind. Orochimaru is very good at reading people. So part one, he's probably or sorry, the first instance where he's trying to take Itachi's body, he probably knows where he scales. He realizes where Itachi scales definitely after that. So he's learned his lesson. So he's saying, oh man, Itachi, he's superior to me. I can't fight that guy. That's what he's saying afterwards. Okay, so he's learned his lesson. Okay, what happens next? So we get Sasuke versus Itachi. Orochimaru comes out. He's already said, Itachi's superior to me. I can't beat that guy. What does he then proceed to do? He proceeds to try and fight and beat Itachi. Why would he do that?
because Itachi's dying. He's like at the weakest state possible before literally collapsing. That's
Yeah.
why
So like,
he. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
literally
That's
why
the
he
thing.
did it.
Like Orochimaru, like he's literally like what he is, a personification of what he is. He's a fucking snake. Like what I got from it, it was more of the emphasis. Like he knew he could never beat Itachi in a fair fight 1-on-1 scenario. Like he just has no chance, right? Or whatever. And I feel like that was shown like with when they had their first like interaction where he's trying to fight and confront because Itachi detected his immediate like murderous intent right off the whip. Like Itachi immediately was like, okay, yeah, he's trying to fuck with me, and then immediately placed him in a fucking visual Sharingan Genjutsu. Then bitched him, talked shit, cut his arm off. They could still fight, but then Orochimaru still chose like, yeah, I see his power now, whatever, blah blah. I don't think I can fucking beat this guy, and he leaves with Kabuto. Like that's what I kind of got from that moment, and whatnot. And then as we go on, and we get that statement in the scene where he just flat out says it, like, oh, he's stronger than me, whatever, blah, can't fuck with him. Like I feel like that's because narratively he's just always been above, and that's just what it is, right? But the moment you're referring to now, and like what Jay was saying, he only does that because at this point in time, this is the best absolute chance he possibly has to actually take an Itachi. It makes sense. He's extremely low on chakra, where he basically just doesn't really have any left. Okay, he's
Yeah, he's
blind.
dying.
Fuck, he has no MS now. He's blind. Okay, or no Sharingan or nothing. And on top of it, he's also super sick and he's coughing blood. Like, this is the best. Like, if I was Orochimaru, I think, oh, I got this in the fucking bag. There's no way I lose this shit, right? You know, like, there you go, right? Like, and especially when he lost already the first exchange with a and knew like he was clearly like the real deal. You would think he'd be like more like on edge, like trying to like not get hit by anything Itachi does, like really strategizing and planning, like literally the fight he had with Hiruzen, right? You think he'd have the same fucking energy, but he did it. He was still like, oh, I could do whatever, blah blah. And let's be real, let's be fucking real, bro. We obviously know at that point in time, Itachi would definitely have to be weaker than Orochimaru at that point in time was literally like, fully ready to go. Like he was ready to go. He went to the eight-headed serpent. Itachi's on his fucking deathbed. Okay, so like, yet he still couldn't fucking beat him. Like, and all Itachi does is use like the speed of the Susanoo, which that is separate from Itachi. That is like a whole other thing. It's just really strong, fast, whatever, and that like hits Orochimaru, and then we know what happens. Like he gets sealed, and then like, and that's just what it is. But like, here's the thing. Like, it's just from that whole moment, like Jay was getting at, I feel like it's heavily implied. Like, that's the best moment he has to really capitalize on actually taking his body. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Orochimaru told Sasuke that he needs his body in order to have a chance to defeat Itachi. Or to, like, beat Itachi or whatever. I could have sworn that was a whole theme, too. Like, the whole reason he wanted Sasuke's body was to this way he could actually be able to defeat Itachi. Along with Sasuke having the same fucking goal to killing Itachi, whatever. Like, they were willing because they both were benefiting from the same goal, right? So like,
yeah.
Well, like, I feel like that is part of it. I'm glad you're saying that because yes, that is the idea that's going on to where Orochimaru comes out. He's basically insinuating that he wants to take Sasuke's body first and then fight Itachi. But obviously Itachi's not going to let that happen. So Orochimaru, knowing that, is more than willing to fight Itachi before taking Sasuke's body. But here's the thing. Here's my contention with what you guys are saying. Yes, everything you're saying is true. He's coughing up blood, he's dying, he's sick, etc., etc. But Orochimaru's not taking that into account. For Sasuke, we do have a comparison for how Kishimoto's writing the story. For Sasuke, it doesn't matter where Itachi scales, whether Itachi's stronger than him, relative to him, or weaker than him. Because for Sasuke, he's not planning to kill him like that. It doesn't matter how strong Itachi is. If he can whittle him down to a point that he's weak enough to where Sasuke can outmaneuver him with something such as Kirin, something he always intended to win the fight with. For Orochimaru, he's not planning to do any sort of ninja tactics to whittle Itachi down, to reduce his stamina to where he dies on his own from his sickness, or anything like that. He's not running away, he's not trying to stall out the battle. He's looking at Itachi in his strongest form, with the Susanoo, with the Yadamir activated, and he's charging dead ahead, planning to take on that Itachi and beat him. Not stall out the time for him to die, to beat Susanoo, full power Itachi.
Yeah, but there's a difference between that Itachi and then Edo Tensei Susanoo Itachi. Like, that's an actual full power Itachi. That Itachi literally has no power at all. Like he has enough chakra to use his Susanoo, but yeah, it's nowhere in the same extent as like Edo Itachi or like the Itachi that comes to Konoha to fuck up the joining and shit, whatever. Blah. Like, that's what we're basically getting at. Like, and then like, and again, like Orochimaru only comes out at that point in time. Like, he could have speak to Sasuke at any point in time, but like, hey, let me fight this guy, or hey, let me do whatever, or let's work together, or blah blah. No. Instead, he's like, right when he's at his fucking weakest point, he's now fucking with Sasuke. He's like, hey, use my power. You have no chakra left, blah blah. You have to use me, whatever. Blah. Let me do this, and he gives in. And then Orochimaru is super confident he's gonna win the fight. And like you said, he has like that little moment where he's doing a tug of war and he's pushing against it, whatever. Why not? And then he gets hit by the fucking Totsuka blade. And then he's like, oh shit. He's like, oh, you think this could kill me? Because he's always used to, getting hit by attacks and the healing, whatever. But again, because he's fucking arrogant, next thing you know, he's getting hit by hacks and he loses. So like, again, like, but it's just, that's really stupid, okay? Because at the end of the day, you would think he learned his fucking lesson after fighting him the first time. But that's the thing.
That's the thing. We know he did learn his lesson because of what he tells Kabuto after the Hiruzen fight, that Itachi's stronger than him. So if he's saying that he has learned his lesson, he goes on to see Itachi. He knows where Itachi scales. He knows Itachi has the Susanoo and the Yadamir. I mean, in my opinion, if he knows what the Totsuka blade is, he should know what the Yadamir is. So he knows Itachi has the Yadamir and the Susanoo, and he's willing to take him on. He doesn't realize that Itachi has the Totsuka blade, which is why he ends up losing. But that means Orochimaru's confident in his ability to take on a Yadamir Susanoo Itachi. That's where he thinks he scales above
like
that.
The weakest possibly the weakest possible version of Itachi that can hold up a Susanoo. So it's not like it's full power Itachi with the Yanami. It's not. It's a false dichotomy essentially. It's night and day comparing this Itachi to the one that fodderized Orochimaru the first time. Um, so he learned his lesson the first time dealing with Itachi's power, but he didn't learn his lesson with Itachi's intelligence because he didn't know he had the Yadomir, and Orochimaru failed to foresee that Itachi had the capability of acquiring something that's so clearly, uh, rare and hard to find. I mean, he was shocked when he saw it, so he didn't learn his lesson completely. Him learning his lesson completely would be to steer away from Itachi at all costs, whether he's sick, healthy, strong, not strong. So he learned his
Like
lesson ever
Obito
since the
got that
beginning.
message pretty clear. That's all I'll say.
He
He was smart. He was
never,
very being strategy, trying to work,
yeah, he
blah
never
blah.
touched Itachi again.
Orochimaru, he didn't learn his lesson. He was doing the complete fucking opposite. I feel like it's very counterintuitive and extremely arrogant. Like again, like if you have an exchange with someone and it goes to fucking shit and you realize, oh, this guy is he's no joke, right? And then you try to like deal with him again. Now I will say, like, in a way he learned because he at least is coming out when Itachi's at his weakest, right? And about to fucking die. So I'll give Orochimaru that.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
well, I
but
will say, because that is the second time you said
It
that,
wasn't enough.
if you remember, that
Yeah.
was like Sasuke's control chakra. It had nothing to do with Itachi. It had everything to do with Sasuke going out of chakra, which is when Orochimaru took over. If Sasuke went out of chakra earlier, Orochimaru would have taken over. If Sasuke went out of chakra when he's fighting Deidara, Orochimaru would have taken over then.
Well, Sasuke had to
I
give
guess
him
he
consent.
would've
That's
been.
the first thing. Like, he couldn't just outright do it. He literally was talking to him and saying, "Hey, like, release my power, whatever, blah. It's the only way you can defeat him." Yada yada. All I'm getting at is like at the key point when that does happen, it's when Itachi's at his fucking weakest. So like, it just overall, like, I get your perception of it, but it doesn't. It's not a good look for Orochimaru. Like overall, objectively, like it kind of looks like he's trying to like get the win at the best case scenario. Is what
Well,
I'm
okay,
getting at.
but
You know what I
also
mean?
He's
then,
trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, okay, it sounds like from what you guys are saying, I might be misunderstanding, but you might actually be agreeing with me partly here, to where you're agreeing that Orochimaru at the end of the Itachi fight is stronger than Itachi if Itachi doesn't have the Tosuke Blade, and that Orochimaru would beat that version of Itachi.
Well,
No.
that's irrelevant because we were talking about full power Itachi anyway, so that's like a
Like,
false
well, I'll say
dichotomy
this.
for no
Like, I'll
reason at
say
all.
this. I think a lot of fucking ninjas could defeat that Itachi at that split second and moment. If we
Yeah,
just take
that's a
away
false
Susanoo,
dichotomy.
a lot like Kakashi would have fucking beat him for crying out loud. Like the
It
dude,
originally started
like
with
it was stated verbatim. He had no fucking chakra. Like Zetsu flat out said, Sasuke and Itachi, they literally basically have like no fucking chakra. Like they're that low.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, like, it really, if anything, anyone at that
Moving
fucking
the
point, a lot of people,
So
could be able to beat him.
moving the
so
goal moving the
let's give
goalpost from the
Itachi
original.
infinite time in this case, to where you're not going to stall him out. The win condition is to defeat Itachi. He can have his stats of when he's sick or whatever. He has his Yadomir, he has his Susanoo, and I guess he has Susanoo swords. He just doesn't have Totsuka Blade in particular.
Point being said,
If
all
he
I'm getting, I'll just say this really quick, Jay. Point being said, all I'm getting at, if he really truly learned his lesson and he was actually trying to acquire a W and be smart and so on and so forth, all he would have done is continue to drag out the fight. He would have made sure to try to be calculated, avoid any attacks from Itachi or whatever, or just try to fight to the best of his ability and just outlast him because he would easily
Well, to be
able
fair, that's what he wanted to do. Itachi said no. Orochimaru said, "Wait, let me take Sasuke's body first, then I'll fight you." Itachi's the one that denied that.
No, I mean like, but he didn't because he just let him straight up stab him. That's what I'm saying. So like, if he really wanted to approach the fight correctly, he would have still been defensive. He would have still not been underestimating Itachi. That's the point being said. Like when he fought Hiruzen, he was not trying to like yeah, he was being arrogant, whatever, blah, but he was still giving him the respect like he deserves. Basically, like he wasn't under. He was still trying to make sure things didn't go to fucking shit. And that's kind of a pattern with Orochimaru throughout Naruto too. He does, in a way, always underestimate someone to a degree. Like, even if he knows they're strong, whatever, he always just thinks, oh, like, he's got this in the bag. But yet, next thing you know, he finds out he don't, and now he's getting hit with a Reaper fucking Death Seal, loses. Or with Itachi, loses in the beginning, and then the same thing with fucking... like, that's a weakness, unfortunately, Orochimaru just has, because, again, he's fucking arrogant, Like, so I don't think necessarily I feel like it's hard to advocate that he learned his lesson or he knows what he's doing, whatever, blah blah. When like literally like repeatedly he continues to fail. If anything, it's to the counter to where Itachi he had this shit fucking thought out from the get go. That dude literally the whole point of that fight was Itachi already knew what he was fucking. He was controlling that fight the entire time. He wanted Orochimaru to come out to free him from Sasuke. That was the whole entire point. So if anyone really had it in the bag or actually knew what the fuck they were doing or what they were dealing with, it was Itachi. It wasn't Orochimaru. It was definitely Itachi. He thought ahead, so on and so forth. The whole fucking nine. Whether if it was intelligence, whether if it was hacks, power, whatever. The whole point being said is Itachi has always been put in the spotlight to be above and beyond Orochimaru. Like even when he was a little kid, it was always having that emphasis and showing that like he's just something beyond Orochimaru Asani. And this isn't the first time we see this narrative emphasis either. The White Fang was also an example. Whether if you believe it's all three of them or only one of them, point being said, there has been other people. It's not just Itachi that were also above the fucking Sonic. Like, then you have Hiruzen as well. You also have Minato. Like, so for it to be like, with basically everything you're getting at, like all this stuff, like I feel like with the consistency of it, there are people that are just built different. Like they just get to a different like spectrum length of power, and the Sonic they just haven't gotten to that point, or they might start approaching it, but they're not there yet, which is why they have their boundaries. That's all I'm getting at. But
No,
I
would
do
agree
get what
with
you're
that.
saying. Like the arguments are there. I do get it. Like I could see how you can approach it or play devil's advocate or whatever the case may be and so on and so forth. Like I see it. But
I mean, it's
I
funny
don't know. I
because
feel like
I'd
what we
also have I'd have
yeah.
Orochimaru above the Sannin tier as well. As funny as that is, since he's literally a Sannin. I know that sounds ridiculous. He beats Jiraiya. That Jiraiya might have Sage Mode, which is crazy. He might have Gamabunta, which is crazier, since Orochimaru shouldn't have Manda yet, unless you want to consider the Hanzo fight. That might have been Manda if he summoned him there. But ignoring that, he that's also like a very injured Orochimaru. That's an Orochimaru that just fought a gauntlet. He just fought Hiruzen, and he's like bleeding out, limping away from Kakashi, and then goes on to fight and defeat a fresh Jiraiya. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I already said like, but overall, like point being said, like Jay, what I said before, like there's a consistency with the Sonic, they clearly get humbled, right, by a lot of fucking people, whether if it's Pain, whether if it's Itachi, whether if it's Hanzo, whether if it's XYZ, here is in Minato, there's always some dude, like they're always established to be in a certain level of power. That's all I'm getting at, and that's just consistently shown.
Well, but
Even
that
with
right
the
there, I feel
context
like
involved.
I feel like the word underestimate isn't the correct word. It might be, but I don't know. But I feel like unaware might be better, because if you are aware someone has something and you just think they're weaker than they actually are, yeah, that's underestimating. If you just don't even know someone has something in their arsenal at all, I feel like that's not necessarily underestimating.
He's
No, it
underestimating his
no,
he's
it is because
underestimating his
Obito
intelligence
did the
then.
same thing. Obito, like he never like ever wanted to underestimate. He at least did the smartest thing to finally get involved when Itachi was dead. Then he was like, okay, I should be safe. But even then, Itachi's still fucking playing,
He's
and he
not
was like, what the
underestimating
fuck?
it. He is
Yeah.
underestimating him in one aspect. He's underestimating his
Yeah.
intelligence because he didn't predict nor foresee him acquiring such a rare tool, which he
Well,
did.
but
So he underestimated his intelligence.
we don't know the ramifications behind acquiring the Totsuka blade. It's implied that it's something Itachi had to find, and based on what Orochimaru describes, it seems like the Yotamir and Totsuka blade shouldn't have been in the same location. Just because he knew he had the Yotamir but didn't know he had the Totsuka blade and was surprised by that, implying that they probably shouldn't have been together. Again, it seems like it's something that you physically find in a physical location. In fact, it's almost implied when we get an image of like a 5-year-old Itachi at like some weird temple shrine thing during that description. So it's almost like to say that's might be where it was, rather than it being like a skill or intelligence thing that he learned or acquired or picked up through some other means. It might just be like somewhere physically in the world. It's weird because it's a spiritual weapon. Kishimoto just never really went into that at all.
Yeah, that's a thing too, but another, and just keep it super short, another argument for that is that's only Itachi actually has the capability to summon that particular tool, and yet he found it, but it was because when he awakened Susanoo, that's something he has within him, because if you actually analyze the Uchihas as a whole, the Susanoo with their soul and how it all works overall as a compass. Basically, with who they are themselves and their personality is what they develop with their weapons or how their Susanoo looks and so on and so forth, whatever. So, in theory, with that being said, with Itachi, because of how he is and who he is, whatever, blah, he was the one to actually acquire that weapon and only he could, which is why Orochimaru could never ever find it. Because we're talking about a fucking guy, Orochimaru, that like when he sets his mind to something, he fucking gets it, right? He does it. Yeah, he could not find this shit. Like the dude was able to figure out how to reverse the Reaper Destiny, which Minato thought was impossible, right? Like so, like overall, like that Orochimaru is no slouch in acquiring things and doing things. Yet Itachi somehow fucking gets it. Which it's two things: either Itachi had the ability to get it himself, or he was just smarter. That's it.
So. Essentially, there's no real empirical backing that Orochimaru even compares to Itachi. If we have to go to the final altercation they had, where Itachi's near death, literally about to collapse, and that's Orochimaru's best chance at success, and still fails. That just illuminates that Orochimaru was never on his level.
Well, he didn't beat Itachi.
Power-wise.
Or sorry, Itachi didn't beat him. The Totsuka blade did.
Well, the Totsuka blade is a part of his arsenal that he. If we assume that you're correct about how he acquired it, alluding to when he was 5 years old, he was intelligent enough at 5 years old to deduce that this tool will come in handy in battle one day. So that despite it not being a 200 IQ move, to be doing that at 5 years old still alludes to his intelligence even at that age. So again, it is an underestimation by Orochimaru to not deduce that Itachi, even on his deathbed, was still capable of defeating him. So he did underestimate.
And if anything, Itachi did the opposite. He didn't underestimate him. If anything, let's say we even grant that Itachi did find this weapon, like some or whatever, blah. Like he solely found this weapon or looked for it just to be prepared for that particular moment to deal with Orochimaru, someone that can regenerate, immortal. Like basically, he's like, oh, let me get this shit this way. It's not a problem. You know, like there you go.
Yeah.
You know?
The way Itachi defeated Orochimaru doesn't negate the fact that he is overall superior to him. The first time he didn't need the Totsuka blade because he wasn't dying from ninja AIDS and about to collapse. The second time he had to improvise because he was dying from ninja AIDS and simply just outsmarted Orochimaru because Orochimaru honestly overestimates his own intelligence and believes he's superior to people. That's why he lost his arms to Hiruzen. That's why he lost the first time to Itachi, and that's why he lost this time to Itachi. He overestimates his abilities and his intelligence constantly, and that's why he never.
And Jay, Itachi fights in character like that too. He's always immediately to the fucking point, very concise and bloodlet. Like immediately wants to shut shit down as quick as possible. Yeah. Like always. You know what I mean? And with the Totsuka blade, he always does that and uses it as well. Like he did it against fucking Nagato when things are, he's like, all right, enough is enough. He analyzed whatever, blah, and just use a Totsuka blade. Right? Like the easiest way to deal with this guy. So like, all I'm getting, like, that's just in character. That's just how Itachi is, anyways. That's in his arsenal. And I agree. Like I would consider that. That's like saying when Orochimaru killed Hiruzen with the fucking, what do you call that? The Kizunai sword or whatever. Yeah, like that. Therefore, that killed Hiruzen and Orochimaru. Like, yeah, it doesn't negate like Orochimaru did it. So, or Hiruzen killing someone with the fucking monkey transforming into the pole. Like, I would still count that as a Hiruzen double defeat someone with that pole, right? Yeah. But I get your thought process on that. I see what you're saying on it.
My problem with that is that both of those instances would rely on the user's chakra and or jutsu. With Orochimaru, the telekinesis for the sword, whatever jutsu that was, and then for Hiruzen, the chakra necessary to summon Hiruzen, in which case that's going to deplete Hiruzen's chakra by that much. We don't really know the ramifications of using the Totsuka blade, if that's even chakra-based at all. If Academy Naruto found the Totsuka blade, if Mizuki sent him after that instead of the scroll, is Academy Naruto just able to use the Totsuka blade the same way Itachi was? Could he just speed blitz one shot Orochimaru in the exact same way?
And the reason why is because Itachi has Susanoo, which is his power itself. It's his chakra, and the Susanoo, aka his power, is known to be very powerful and very fast, like speed blitzing fucking speed capabilities. We've seen that like consistent with the Susanoo. Like when Sasuke's fighting Danzo, they're going at it. Then he does Susanoo. Now he's getting blitzed over and over, whether if it's the arrow or if it's a physical attack, whatever. Like Susanoo is just no joke. It's just an amplified fucking chakra manifestation of the Uchiha's power, right? So like again, it is still his power because it's one thing if Itachi was like on his deathbed, whatever, blah blah, yada yada, and he has a fucking Totsuka blade, like just a sword in his hand, right? No Susanoo, just a sword in his hand. If he tried to also stab Orochimaru, he would have failed. He would have absolutely fucking failed because he's weak. He has nothing like no chakra. He's dying the whole nine, but he's still in the Susanoo, and that itself is very fucking powerful. And Orochimaru knows the Uchiha. He knows Madara, blah blah. I'm sorry, but if you're looking at a fucking Susanoo, you should be taking that shit seriously. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm saying, bro. Like I don't know. Again, I just think Orochimaru and make sure with his arrogance, whatever, blah, and
He's
just
inferior.
Yeah, there's inferiority, but also him being arrogant at the same time and miscalculating.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of both.
He
I think two things can be true, but
He overestimates his own intelligence very often. That's his problem.
Yeah, the arrogance thing is obviously a writing thing that's going on. It's just interesting looking at it, how it plays out in universe, ignoring that.
Yeah.
So looking at a similar fight, just to see if we can apply the same framework. So we look at Obito versus Konan. We would all agree at the beginning of the fight, obviously Obito, he's going to try and win. He's trying to get the information out of Konan, etc., etc. He's trying to win, but he's not like going all out. He's not going crazy or anything to do so. He's underestimating Konan, and because of that, the consequences, he's nearly dies. He almost is blown up.
Yeah.
So
That's definitely true.
he makes note of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he says, Konan.
That fight only got as far as it got to because Obito wasn't able to kill her. He needed to know where the Rinnegan was. If it wasn't for that, she would have been bitched instantaneously. Just how Jiraiya fucking immediately like she would have been dealt with, whatever. Now, was there like that moment you referred to where he did underestimate her? Abso-fucking-lutely, with the whole like where she tried to like kill herself along with him. You know what I mean? He just didn't expect her to do something like that extreme, and he did underestimate it flat out. But here's the thing, though: Obito, he's pretty smart himself, right? He knows how to manipulate, blah blah, the whole nine. He has a pretty good grasp on everyone's power levels throughout the Akatsuki and like who he typically would be more, afraid of, blah blah, this and this and this. I feel like the only person he mistakenly like had some arrogance with was Pain. To a degree, I don't think he should have had, like that type of energy with him. But other than that, for the most part, consistency-wise, he normally does a good job measuring everybody's power and who he should, be a certain way with, right? Itachi, flat out, he's like, yeah, no, I cannot fuck around or fuck up, right? Well, Konan, let's be real, it's fucking Konan. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm sorry, but like, and he knows that, blah, blah. Like, he knows, right? Like, he's been in the Akatsuki. He knows what he's dealing with. So the fact that he even underestimated her to begin with and got to that point, I feel like that's just a testament and just automatically goes to show that Conan just clearly nowhere near his level, right? So like I get what you're saying, but like again, that just wouldn't even been a thing remotely if he didn't need to know where the Rinnegan was, because he had to Genjutsu. He had to Genjutsu. Yeah, So that's all I'm saying. But I get I see what.
Well, getting to the point here though. So he is underestimating her at the beginning of the fight. Again, the fight isn't to kill, it's to Genjutsu for the information. But that's to say, because he's underestimating her, he's not going all out in terms of trying to accomplish his plan. After he's done underestimating her, after he says, oh, well, you're an Akatsuki too, I shouldn't hold back against you, I think we would agree, at that point onwards, he's not underestimating her anymore. He's not trying to kill her, obviously, but he's no longer holding back in reference to his goal. He's going all out to try and win the fight.
Well, he was definitely holding back the whole time. I just think at that point he took her more serious, and he's going to be more calculated and not like just think, oh, he'll be just perfectly fine with Kamui the whole time and blah blah. Like I'm gonna be real with you, like low key, like that was a really crazy smart moment with Konan. Like I wouldn't even think this bitch would be trying to do a kamikaze move, right? I wouldn't personally think that. Yeah. So like for it to catch him out, like I think is very reasonable. Like the moment he had while underestimating her, I feel like is tremendously more reasonable, and it's a false equivalence, at least in comparison to Orochimaru, where Orochimaru has that experience. He's dealt with this guy. He knows what he's capable of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yet he's still doing the fucking shit he's doing. Like that's just on him. That's an L on him. That's all I'm getting at.
Well, with that, I think that's exactly it. He does know Itachi's capabilities. He just isn't aware about the Totsuka blade. But everything else aside from that, he's aware of. He thinks he's superior to that. But ignoring that, getting back to the Konan fight. So Obito, is not going to underestimate Conan anymore. He's not going to kill her, but he's going to go all out to win. Despite that, despite not underestimating her anymore, he still gets caught in Conan's 6 billion paper bomb, trillion, whatever the crazy, outworldly, ridiculous, outlandish number was of paper bomb. He still gets caught, and that has to use his Mangekyo to get out of that.
Yeah, it was 6 billion. 6 fucking billion. I'm sorry, bro. It was if I did 6 billion paper bombs and I still lost a fight, I swear to God, I would make it my fucking life goal and purpose to kill whoever made everything in that universe. I swear, to God, I'll figure it the fuck out. Yeah, that was some fucking heinous shit. That just goes to show the Shotgun's fucking ridiculous. Izanagi reality warping bullshit. But anyways, but yeah, no, yeah.
Well,
that
but
was
here's my
crazy.
point though: is that at first he's underestimating her. He thinks that she's weaker than she actually is. Afterwards, he's not doing that, but he is unaware that she has the 6 billion paper bomb trap. I think that's the difference. The underestimating versus unaware. He's not underestimating her, but he is unaware about this. And that's not really anything to fault or blame him. He can't fight differently to like calculate for something he's not even aware of. How would he even do that? Because it's not just one thing. There'd be infinitesimally
see, Orochimaru
infinite
could.
things that hypothetically
That's
she could have.
that's where me and Jay disagree, though. I think Orochimaru could because see the difference with Konan and Obito is Obito he wasn't studying Konan. He didn't have like previous fighting interactions or anything like that. Whatever the whole nine. Like
That's
he
true.
had no way, absolutely at all, to know that this bitch is gonna try to fucking not only study him for years, plan to fight him, and then fucking do the 6 billion fucking people. Like, never in his fucking rightful mind would he think it would get to that point extent, and he didn't even have any way to even get to that basis because it wasn't the same experience as with Itachi and Orochimaru. Though they were in the Akatsuki together, they've seen each other, they fought, right? They're aware of each other's existence and now and so on and so forth. Like there's constant establishment of them having those experiences and interactions, and because of how that all is, and like mind you, it's even worse for Orochimaru because he's known him since he was a fucking kid. Like throughout all his ages, from when he was super young to where Itachi asked him, "What's the point of life?" and Orochimaru says, "Oh, meaningless. Fuck off, 5-year-old." Like, which the craziest shit to ever say to a 5-year-old. But that's what happens. And then it further time goes where he's seen him do like all that crazy kunai stuff. He's like, "Oh no, he's gonna die." We talked about that. Like he's seen him throughout his whole fucking childhood, right? And he's always in all this stuff. Like he has all these years, all this time. He clearly knows what he's dealing with. He's dealing with a fucking dangerous prodigy genius fucking ninja. Okay. Hiruzen himself said Itachi had the mind of an Okage at age what, 4 or 5? You know what I mean? Like again, like Orochimaru knows what he's dealing with, yet he still miscalculated, misperformed. Like even if he's not aware of the Totsuka blade, regardless of not being aware, I would still be cautious of my opponent. That's what I'm getting at. With everything he does know and he's experienced, I would still be taking precautions or not wanting to get hit and so on and so forth because of who he's dealing with. That's basically at least what I'm getting at. I would assume Jay's on the similar basis, but like it doesn't logically make any sense to perform that way with who you're dealing with, even if he doesn't know about the Totsuka blade. That's what I'm getting at. Like, because me, if I'm dealing with a person like that, I'm not taking any fucking chances. I'm going to avoid even getting hit at all fucking costs because this guy has already bested me so many times, or he's just that fucking guy, right? You know? So, like, I don't know. That's all I'm saying. Like, if I know someone's very superior than me, or at least is always besting me, I'm gonna even do even more in my power to try to come on top. That's what I'm getting at. But Orochimaru still doesn't do that. That's why I disagree that he went about that wrong. You know, but that's all, man. You know, I don't know if you
Yeah,
have
that
something to say
was
with that, Jay, but yeah,
yeah, it is a false dichotomy to an extent because Obito isn't weaker than Conan. So in his mind, he was just gonna slaughter her.
yeah,
Yeah.
And obviously he didn't come with killer intent. He came to get information from her, and he deduced prior to this most likely that that would be an easy goal to achieve because she's just blatantly inferior, and he did not foresee her, plan literally prepping for 7 fucking years to kill him and
It's
learn his
insane.
jutsu to such a high
Yeah.
degree to the point where she knows the fucking time period in which he can be intangible and how to basically create enough paper bombs to override that to the point where he can't even fucking phase long enough to avoid all the paper bombs. So that's definitely a false dichotomy and not comparable to fucking Orochimaru, who is blatantly inferior, who's lost before, not foreseeing that Itachi would have some other crazy tactic or ability up his sleeve. Um, so simply put, you could even argue that Obito underestimated Conan's intelligence. And yeah, I mean, who could foresee what she did? But you could still argue that he just blatantly looked down on her in every way, in every relevant way, and just
Mhm.
failed to
Oh
perceive
yeah, he thought
that
she was some
she
fodder
was
ass trash.
A
retard.
fight
Yeah,
that's
he
he thought
thought,
very
that
he
she
just
was.
thought, yeah, you're
yeah.
not wrong.
A fight that's very similar to
Uh,
the Obito versus Conan fight in this regard would be Itachi versus Kabuto. I'm sure we would all agree that despite Itachi not having his goal to be to kill Kabuto, so he's having to hold back in some regard, he's also at the same time he's not underestimating Kabuto.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think what helped him
Itachi
is
never underestimates people. That's just an in character thing. Like, and that's the like a perfect
Yeah.
nature of a ninja. Like that, like that's illustrated in part one Naruto. The whole like the most important thing is to never ever underestimate your fucking opponent. Even if you're like if you just know for certainty that you're better or whatever, blah, yada yada yada. You just never ever fucking do that.
it's
Like that Kakashi literally tries to teach Team Seven that Kakashi acts in character and never ever wants to underestimate any of his opponents or whatever. Like, and the reason why that's so important because if you do that, then you get scenarios like fucking Neji losing to Naruto. Neji was blatantly superior to Naruto the whole fucking time, blah blah. But Naruto didn't give up, and then because Neji thought he won the fucking fight and thought he was a failure and he could never lose to him, next thing you know, Naruto outsmart does a fucking Konan moment basically. He doesn't have Izanagi and he gets the fucking last hidden, right? Like you end up like Neji or you end up like Orochimaru. Like at the end of the day, you shouldn't be fucking doing that shit. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I would say that's a false dichotomy too, because that's Itachi's first time ever interacting with that Kabuto. The prior discussions we had were with people that were familiar with their opponents.
Well,
Itachi never
that's
saw this
exactly.
version of
I think we might actually have the opposite mindset on that because when you encounter someone who you've never fought before, you don't know their arsenal. They could have anything. You don't know what they could have. But we've been saying, Orochimaru's known Itachi since he's been a child. Orochimaru should know everything Itachi has exactly the way he fights. And in fact, I mean, it's not Genjutsu that he loses to Itachi by, so he's probably being cautious in that regard. So I think there is a difference there to where, yeah, Orochimaru was probably being cautious in terms of Itachi's arsenal because he is aware of Itachi's arsenal, whereas other ninja, they have to be cautious in general. So yeah, don't be hit because you don't know what the opponent has. If Orochimaru believes he knows everything that Itachi has, because of course he should, he's known him since childhood, then it would make sense the way that he fought like that. I don't think that's
see,
necessarily
but I
arrogance.
I severely disagree with that because if he really is being like cautious or like or like everything you're saying,
you wouldn't
like
charge him. Yeah, you wouldn't charge him.
exact like yeah, he's not going to be fighting recklessly. Like that's the issue. Like I just overall his actions seem counterintuitive. Like his performance is just kind of like if anything, all I'm flat out saying like as a reader, like let's say I'm just saying as a reader, like, I'm not even trying to critically think or go debate mode or whatever the fucking case can be, right? Like if I'm just seeing as a reader, I'm just outright seeing this arrogant ass motherfucker laughing at Itachi, thinking he's finally won, he has it in the bag, and next thing you know, boom, gets hit by a Totsuka blade because he didn't give a fuck. Could he have probably been able to dodge it? Maybe, who knows? Who the fuck knows, right? But like at the end of the day, he thinks it's not a problem. He thinks it's not a fucking threat. He is willing to get hit, gets hit, and now he's losing. He's like, oh shit, I didn't know you had this all on, blah blah, whatever, blah blah. Like at the end of the day, just the way he performs and acts, it's just blatant fucking arrogance and him just completely underestimating Itachi. And he has no business doing that with everything he knows. Everything he knows. Yeah, he's still at like, come on, bro. Like that's just, if anything, I feel like it's just blatantly a flaw from Orochimaru. And if anything, I would say indicates the opposite that he was always inferior than Itachi. And like, and for once, he truly believed that he could actually have a chance of beating this guy, and he just couldn't still. You know what I
Well,
mean? But again,
but
like, it's a mixture of both.
that's funny because that's almost like exactly my point. Orochimaru, his biggest flaw, the thing that's nerfing him the most is his personality. Orochimaru is a
Yes,
lot
I agree.
stronger than what he comes off across. To the
I agree.
point that I'd argue Orochimaru is stronger than Itachi, and it's his personality that makes him weaker to where he loses.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't say that. I think his personality makes him miscalculate, but it doesn't negate that he has inferior power to Itachi because when he does have relative or superior power, we see what happens, i.e., Hiruzen, i.e., other individuals that he's defeated in his career. So he's not dumb to the point where he'll lose to fodder. He's blatantly inferior to Itachi. Itachi, the first time they fought, he didn't even have to touch him. That's how far superior he was to him. The second time, I mean, he was just so arrogant that he thought a dead Itachi was free bait, which he wasn't.
Yeah.
And again, I still think it was a miscalculation by him to charge a dead Itachi because he only, had one interaction with him, and he knows he has a Sharingan. So why would he even possibly take the chance of Itachi having some chakra left and eliminating him with some other means? That's not the Totsuka blade. It's
Like
his
Jay,
personality is not that. It's not that detrimental to his success rate. He's just
here's another thing: the war arc,
yeah
like Kabuto, who did he bring
weaker.
back?
He's just
Who
weaker.
did who the fuck did he bring back as like that he claimed to be the strongest out of Tenseis? Tachi and Nagato,
Yeah,
not fucking Orochimaru. You know what I mean, and whatnot,
no,
or
exactly.
whatever, blah blah. Like
Kabuto knew
it's
him
like
very,
he
very
he didn't even have to Edo
intimately.
Tensei or Orochimaru. He could just figure out easily a way to bring him back as alive. You know, like he fucking
Yeah,
did with Sasuke with the curse mark and shit. Like all I'm getting at is like it's just narratively, at least from my collection of things, narratively and how it just is illustrated, and even the Naruto villains, like how that kind of comes into play. Like at first, it went from the big bad of Orochimaru, right? Like he's this level of power, and then you get into the just even the other bigger gaps. Like Kishimoto did kind of a really good job with that, where like as the villains go, they get more stronger and powerful. Like you went from Zabuza, right? And then you go to this, and then you go to this, and you go to Orochimaru. Now you're having fucking Itachi in part one, which is at least for again, even in part one, I would say is clearly is implied to be superior and everything. Just the vibe and everything that happened. Then you go into the next thing Shippuden, where you have like then this is pain, right? The whole time, like the strongest Akatsuki, blah blah. Like point being said is the villains they progress more in power throughout as the story goes, and they did a really good job with that. And there's a lot of connections to the Sannin on top of it for power scaling elements, like the Four Tails Naruto. That was just flat out shown and stated that the Sannin like that's where they kind of cap at in a way, right? I know it's a whole other thing, but fucking like but Jiraiya like he loses whatever, and then Orochimaru we see that whole thing. What like point being said is like after the pain and then Itachi, then you have Obito, right, and then it goes from Obito, then it goes to Madara. Like so like overall it just doesn't really look good, bro. Like I know there's ways you can advocate or argue for Orochimaru or things how to make it make sense, whatever you name it. But if you just look at very simply, right, just for what we have, right, the statements, the fight outcomes, and then even narratively how things progress in Naruto, it's very strong evidence and extremely more favorable in Itachi's favor, or for people within that ballpark, like Pain,
yeah.
Obito, you name it. Like shit in the fucking Naruto game, Orochimaru tries to take Pain's Rinnegan. Like he's like, oh, I want that shit. Oh, I need that. And Pain bitches him. When one Shinra Tensei and bitches him. And he's like, yeah, I can't fuck with this guy. Like,
There's basically
I,
there's no empirical backing that Orochimaru is relative or superior to Itachi. The very fact
yeah.
that he had to wait until he was almost fucking collapsing from AIDS just insinuates and indicates that he is inferior to Itachi to a very high extent because he had to wait until that very weakened state of Itachi to even feel confident enough to attack him and still failed because he's just that arrogant and thought that Itachi would not have anything to offer, whether it's his power, his tools, whatever.
And
That's how
Jay,
inferior
the
he is
icing on
to
the cake,
Itachi.
then you have Kabuto, who's literally Orochimaru but on steroids. The personification of even more perfection, right? Power or whatever, blah blah, arrogance, even more.
Yeah,
He
and he
gets that
lost it.
perfect Snake Sage mode. He fights against Edo Tensei Itachi, right? And he still loses. Itachi couldn't even kill him. He had to hold back. He had to hold
Hold him
back. He
back.
wasn't allowed to kill him. Yes. And thankfully because he had Izanami, that's why he was able to win. But if he wasn't having to hold back, he would have fucking Totsuka Blade his ass and killed like in the
Yeah,
whole night or
he would have killed
whatever.
it too.
Or he would just like, point being said is Itachi just continuously is always shown to be surpassing or above Orochimaru. Even the next generation of Orochimaru, aka Kabuto, he was even still winning against that. Like that, I'm just saying, if you just look at it like bare minimum, if we don't like try to like analyze everything as a whole. You know what I mean? As simple as it is, it does look really bad for Orochimaru. That's all. I'm pretty sure we can at least agree on that. Like, because I know we're at an impasse in a
Oh, for
sense, but
sure. Yeah,
it
it definitely
does
looks
look
bad.
really bad for the Sonic. You know
Well,
what I mean?
okay, it's
No,
actually
he,
funny you
he
mentioned the video game that Orochimaru loses to
Oh,
Pain.
yeah,
Because in Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storms 2, the
yeah,
adaptation of this fight, of this Itachi fight, we get Orochimaru versus Itachi, and it
yeah,
doesn't go the same way it goes in the anime. I don't know if you remember, but during the quick time events, Orochimaru has like this weird snake-tailed beast bomb, and he beats Itachi. Itachi's in his Susanoo. Orochimaru destroys his Susanoo. Itachi's laying on the ground, defeated, and forced to use the Yata to then defeat Orochimaru. Orochimaru defeated Yata so Susanoo Itachi. So
yeah, I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall that game, but that's pretty fun crazy. The problem with the games, I'll just say this as simple as it was only 2 games. It was either 1 or 2 that were like where you can technically advocate for canonicity or canon, whatever, blah, because Kishimoto's involvement, where like he actually produced the story, the characters, the whole nine, which was Ninja Storm Revolution, and it wasn't the game you said, but it is something else. So. What's it called? But other than that, so like that would kind of be the only thing I would say against that. But either way, even if we like take that or whatever, I still don't really count that as a win because that Itachi is not at full power. That's the problem. Like if anything, I could believe that. I could see that happen because it is Itachi at his weakest in his Susanoo state. So yeah, maybe at that point, yeah, it makes sense why, Orochimaru is overwhelming him, right? And if anything, if we also take the manga itself in the anime into consideration, Orochimaru does have a moment where like he pushes against Itachi's Susanoo and he pushes it a little bit back, right? Yeah. Like would I now flat out say, oh, Orochimaru is fucking Itachi level? No. Again, context, you name it, everything we know, it's not a full power Itachi. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah. He has no chance against full power Itachi. It's not possible.
Yeah.
He can't even beat sick fucking dying Itachi.
But I do want to watch that anime. So I'm glad you posted that. That's some crazy ass shit.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, if you want to go to like 250 and just watch it on your own right now, it's crazy stuff, bro. He just wins, beats Itachi. It's crazy. I love it. But that aside, so I guess
the games are crazy.
just adding.
But let's be real, like Naruto was scrapping with heavy Sasuke in the fucking Ninja Storm game. You know what I mean? But yeah, in a manga, it's blatantly showing Sasuke just that's all I'm saying. But anyways, yeah.
Well, just add scrutiny to some of the stuff that y'all were saying. So caution can like vary wildly. I think that's a very interesting way to interpret the fight. So. As an example, you did say that, oh, well, if Orochimaru was being cautious, then he should try to avoid being hit at all costs, no matter what. Well, you look at Itachi versus Kabuto, and Itachi gets hit by multiple of Kabuto's attacks. I would say that Itachi's being cautious there, but to an extent, it almost didn't matter. Obviously, maybe if Itachi could have avoided it and he just chose to not to, because he just doesn't care because he is healing or whatever, then you could make an argument there. We just don't really know in the first place. We would just go based on what we think is most consistent. But that aside, you could also argue caution to an extent would be charging in first. Because think about like Naruto versus Neji. If Neji's a superior combatant, which he was, and if Naruto knows that, then if Naruto allows Neji to attack first, and all Naruto's going to do is try and react to counter, Naruto's never going to win. Neji's inevitably going to win in that case. But that's why if Naruto can attack first, and if he can stay on the offensive, just overwhelming Neji to where Neji never gets the chance to display his superiority of his attacks, then Naruto can win by simply overwhelming Neji and overpowering him in that regard, because Neji can never display his superiority. So if Orochimaru is trying to do the same thing here, then they could work like that. He's just not giving Itachi the chance to attack in the first place.
I mean, Itachi, he was, embedded in Sasuke's body. Itachi was never going to kill Sasuke anyway. Like, he was smart. He would have waited until Itachi got close and then fucking just.
I'll say this bare minimum. I'm pretty sure we could all agree on. We can all agree on 2 things. One, if it's not full power Itachi or whatever, and he's fighting Orochimaru, can Orochimaru beat him if he doesn't have the Totsuka blade? Sure, that's not a problem to me, right? I'm pretty sure Jay. I don't see like that. It's not an issue at all. It makes sense, right? Yeah, like it makes sense. But so that's the first thing. The second thing, again, I think you already agreed to it. But fucking, no matter what, it just looks really bad for the Sonic and for Orochimaru. Like if you take
power.
Grain of salt, all the evidence that we do know of, every interaction, you name it, just throughout the entire time, it's always Itachi triumphant over the Sonic or Orochimaru, or just praised to a higher regard. And he's not the only person that's done that fucking accomplishment. Again, there's many characters. The White Fang, Minato, Hiruzen, the list goes on and on, right? So
Yeah.
that's all I'm saying, man. It just doesn't look bad. Like I see where you're like how you're trying to, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm just saying, if you just look at it like as from an audience perspective, bare minimum, no power scaling, no whatever, flat as day, it looks bad.
Now I can't
Like,
blame you. It is
any sensible
the
person
crazy and
would
reasonable
immediately think
perspective.
Itachi is over. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like if we did a poll, I know he's one of the most popular.
I would
characters.
expect to lose that poll every time.
Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, it's a mixture too. One, because fans are stupid, because of how pop. Like, I'm sorry, motherfuckers think Itachi and Minato could beat fucking six past characters, and the list goes above and beyond.
Beat
Like
Madara.
it's ridiculous with how much people love Itachi and Minato. But anyways, point being said is like, not even that. I'm not even talking about popularity. Just what people remember and seen. They would immediately be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. Tachi is strong, right? Like it's just, that's all I'm getting at, But
yeah.
It was a good discussion. Good discussions, though. Good discussions.
Yeah, one more point that I wanted to do that was sort of related to this that y'all were making earlier that I wanted to contend. And maybe this is not analogous. Jay, you'd probably know this better than me. I genuinely can't think of if it would be or not. But one thing you were saying is that one of the reasons that Orochimaru shouldn't have tried to fight Itachi here, and he should have been so cautious that he should have ran away and let Itachi die on his own or whatever. I'm not trying to misrepresent your argument. I just can't remember it word for word. But that idea, one of the reasons is because Itachi's beat him in the past. Well, if that's the case, then again, this is where it might be disanalogous. I just don't know if it would be or not. If that's the case, then Naruto never should have fought Sasuke at the end of the series because Sasuke beat him at the end of part 1. Likewise, Lee never should have tried to surpass Neji because Neji started superior to Lee. But obviously, that shouldn't be the case based on the story that we've seen. So what would be your answer to that?
It's definitely not analogous because Naruto and Sasuke had fluctuating times of superiority, even in part 1 because of the nine-tailed crutch. It wasn't just Sasuke whipping his ass every fucking interaction. So it's definitely not analogous. With Lee and Neji, it's a little bit different. Lee never got to utilize, at least that we know of, the literature that's actually documented, utilize the gates that he wanted to use against Neji because he was in a life and
Thank
death
God you're
battle
saying
against
that.
Gaara.
That was going to be one of the main points that I was going to bring up in the debate, by the way. I'm glad that we're on the same page there. I agree.
Yeah, so that one's a little different, but
it's okay. Just real quick. It's so annoying to me. Such a pet peeve when people say, "Oh, well, Neji's not freaking out till Lee goes in the 5th gate. That means Lee must have used the 4th gate against Neji and got stopped." Bro, stop. Get out of here. No, that does not mean that.
No, it definitely doesn't. I would say, I believe Lee states, I saved these for you, and I think it was the 4th and above. I think so. He never used the 4th, I believe, with Neji either.
Well, I don't think he used the gates on Neji at all. First of all, it's sort of his self-rule that guy taught him to teach him the gates in the first place to only use in certain scenarios. I don't think he would have just been spamming that against Neji. Second of all, it's not I don't think that Neji and Lee were fighting every single day or anything it's not like Madara versus Hashirama or anything. It's going to be closer like Naruto versus Sasuke. They fought once at the beginning of the series in a weird fake gag fight, and then they didn't fight again until the rooftop at the end of part 1. So I think it's probably closer to that.
From my recollection, it seemed implied that he used at least the 3rd because he didn't state. I believe it would have been more logical to make the writing decision that if he never used any gates, that Lee from the very first gate would have said, "I've been saving these for you." But
personally, I feel because he said that towards the end of him using the gates, my interpretation is that he's referring to the gates in general rather than a specific gate itself.
Yeah, but again, I think it'd be more logical to have him say that at the very beginning to reference all gates from there on out. Like if it was from gate 1, then we could assume safely that all gates from 1 to 5 were never used against Neji. But he didn't say that until the 4th was activated,
and then
insinuating that
not only that,
Neji never saw that.
Yeah, Guy also said when Lee was using the 3rd gate that this is the technique and whatnot, and the that gate he was particularly talking about, not when he was using the 1st gate or the 2nd gate. When he went 3rd gate, and was even more crazy, probably looked like a fucking Super Saiyan, and like just taking a single footstep blew up the entire fucking stadium and floor. What's it called? Like that's when he was like, "Oh, this is what's needed to defeat Neji." You know what I mean? Like and blah
It's kind of
blah.
confirming that.
And,
Yeah, it's
and then
confirming
Lee
what you said.
also like looks at Neji and he's like, "I was saving this for you, blah blah." Like it corresponds even further. It's further
Yeah,
correlation
confirmation.
and substantiation. Yeah, like so that's why people normally come to the establishment that the third gate or at least fourth gate is what's needed to defeat fucking Neji.
I think
But
also
I would say third gate because the third gate's the only thing that technically requires to do that technique.
I
So
do think
yeah,
the
Right.
word usage there also matters. He's saying he's been saving it for Neji, so he's had it for some time. So he's believed he's been superior to Neji for some time, but he's not fought him with these gates and beat him with the gates, even just to test if he's at that level yet or not. He just believes that he is. But that's to
yeah.
imply that at the very least, he definitely hasn't done that in a while, so
At least not the third is what most people. Third or fourth is what most people imply that he has not used that gate. Those gates are above against Neji. The first two, most people agree he's tried using.
I'm gonna be real.
Even
If he used the first gate like against Neji or whatever, like it would either been shown or it would have been stated outright because it just doesn't make sense for Lee to like flat out the whole entire time be like, oh Neji's above me, superior, whatever, blah. And Lee always uses the first gate all the fucking time.
yeah,
That's
he
like
used it in the
his
Force of
main
Death, and
go-to.
Neji
Yeah,
observed
like
it, so
all,
he's aware of it.
he's always using the first gate typically, and then we'll go further beyond if he needs to, because the first gate is
Yeah,
like that first. It's like Super Saiyan 1. It's like that's that first threshold to surpass and deal with someone. If that's not enough, then he'll do the second gate to get a senso beam and rejuvenate himself, but also get stronger. And then there you go. Then he'll go even further with the third gate or more if he needs even more power. Right? That's just how Lee operates. But he's never
yeah,
ever been pushed to the point to ever go further beyond until he met Gara, and then it's emphasized with Neji that that's what he would also need too, you know. So
yeah.
like, and Neji knows these things, whatever, blah. And then again, like the icing on the cake, Guy like Guy knows his students. You know what I mean? Like he
Confirms
knows
it.
them
Yeah,
outright. He knows what Neji's capable of. He knows the leaves. You know, like I don't think Guy would just be like, oh yeah, that's just gonna fucking, you know, he'd be saying shit for no reason. Like nah, he would like Guy would flat out say Neji's the superior to Lee in all these regards, blah blah, and then he would flat out admit when Lee finally is able to surpass in certain times, you know. So, like, I don't know, but it's just a lot of credibility. You know what I mean?
no,
yeah.
I
He
get that.
uses the first gate.
I
Yeah, in
mean, I
front of
think it's
Neji, so
possible.
Neji's aware of it.
You guys are definitely going to disagree with this, but I think it's possible that Lee hasn't fought Neji in years. The last time he fought him might have been when he was still in the white jumpsuit instead of the green jumpsuit.
Yeah, he was the white. Yeah, it was white. That's when that from what we've seen,
Yeah,
that's when they
that's
left.
the thing. That's
You
not
know, they
necessarily
could have.
why
I'm
I'm
pretty
saying
sure
it,
they
but
could have sparred or whatever. Now, I will say
Could have
this:
killed ignorance. Yeah,
yeah, I do think they did fight or whatever because Lee reinforced, like after that flashback, it shows it's reinforced with the statement where he flat out tells Sasuke, "I'm not the strongest. Neji is." Right? Like blah blah, this and this and this, whatever, so on and so forth. And he's basically saying like he has tried to fight him and challenge him in fights, whatever, blah. But it clearly he didn't win, whether if it was sparring matches or legit serious something as the gates, what's it called? He clearly hasn't done that yet because, like he said when he was fighting Gara, he was saving that was going to be his last
exactly.
resort, his last attempt to try to beat Neji. Because from everything he said, it clearly is implied he did try fighting Neji to beat him with everything else, but it never worked. Right?
But I do
So
think
he
that
needs.
speaks to his mindset, though. It's going to be similar to Naruto and Sasuke, which obviously works because of the narrative parallel between those two groups as well. Naruto
Yeah.
and Sasuke want to, but don't fight each other throughout the entire series, obviously until the very end. I think with Lee, the way he sees beating Neji, that's his end goal. Personally, the way I see it, he's treating that seriously. I think he doesn't want to fight Neji until he feels like he definitely can beat him. Otherwise, why would he save the gates to fight Neji in the first place? Why would he wait?
I think it would be counterintuitive to not spar him because he wouldn't be able to deduce how he compares to him. So it'd be kind of pointless to just guess when he feels ready and just spar him in that sense. That seems less logical to kind of confirm whether or not he is comparable and or superior.
I would
You get a better
agree.
gauge if you're constantly sparring with someone as opposed to just I'm just gonna guess that I'm ready when
I
you've
would
never
agree in
even
terms of
compared yourself to
logic,
him.
but I think for Lee, Lee's a very emotional character, and this is a very emotional goal. So I think from that standpoint, that is how he's approaching it. Again, it's not logical, but Lee's a very irrational character, especially in this regard. That's why he becomes obsessed and why he falters in this regard. Anyways, he's blind to what he's doing in the first place. But all that said, I think there's
I
also other ways to measure or gauge Neji's skill in general. They go on
see. I don't know
missions
about
together
that
all the
though,
time.
because the reason why I don't know about that because I feel like it's further reinforced because when he releases, when he's starting to channel up the third gate, he literally makes a statement like, I don't want to fall behind you guys, whatever, blah, and he thinks of Neji, Sasuke, and then even and Naruto, right? And so like
Yeah.
it's a clear indicator like this level of power is truly what he believes is necessary and needed to either be on the same level or surpass these individuals or not fall behind like the gates, right? That's his crutch, whatever, blah blah. Like there's even that moment. And then again, that's the first thing we get. Then we see the guy statement, and then we see the Lee statement where he's saying, "Hey Neji, this is for you," blah blah. So like with just all that mixed together, I feel like it's heavily implied that he clearly needs the gates to the third gate to beat Neji. Like there's just no way he's doing it with anything less than below.
Well, I do
But
think that
that's all.
Lee instance that you mentioned. So Kishimoto's Japanese, very Japanese, and Naruto's a very Japanese series written by a Japanese author. All that's to
Yeah.
say, it's following Japanese customs and norms and values and societal standards, all that. It has a lot to do with value of respect. And that goes back to what Jay was saying at the beginning of the stream about what Pain says about Jiraiya. There's like a million different statements in Naruto where characters are glazing other characters, and that's because of the Japanese respect thing that's just written in the series. The problem is that gets so misconstrued in so many different ways with power scaling, which is really like one of my pet peeves, and like Jay was saying at the beginning of the stream, that's sort of annoying for him too, especially that like Jiraiya Pain statement. I think this is one of those instances to where Lee, obviously, I'm sure we would agree, he's not saying he needs the fourth gate to contest base prelims Naruto. He's not saying that. He's saying that he views Naruto highly in the same way that he views Neji and Sasuke.
Yeah. So, firstly, by the way, me and Batman probably got to dip soon in like 5 minutes, but
Yeah, that's fine.
we'll end up with this conversation.
Yep.
So I would say in relation to Naruto and Sasuke, yeah, I do agree. He's not insinuating that he needs the fourth gate to beat them, but it's pretty explicitly implied. I rather say that he is when he says I saved this for you, Neji, he is implying the third or fourth gate and above is for Neji. Now, in terms of Naruto and Sasuke, I believe he sees them as suitable rivals or
Yeah,
threats
rivals and
to
Yeah.
threats,
his
threats to
power.
him. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But not
I
necessarily
think
that he
part of
needs the
their
fourth gate.
rivalry isn't necessarily where they currently stand, but also acknowledgement that all three of them are continuing to grow. So any of them could end up on top in the future.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think the way he perceives those three is well, Neji he probably when he's below the fourth gate, he still perceives him as a superior. The other two, he probably does see them as threats as far as them being above him as well. Whether he thinks that's the case currently or it could be the case, um, that I do agree with that. But yeah, Rock Lee with Neji. It just seems again going back. It seems more logical that he would spar him continuously. I mean, we see throughout his career even depicted that he is obsessed with hard work and constant improvement. So it would just be illogical not to incorporate that mentality with his greatest rival, which is Neji's. For him to just not fight him at all and just do push-ups would be again pretty counterintuitive to the idea of surpassing Neji and again deducing where he compares to him. So yeah, it does seem that Rock Lee is logical at least in terms of that. He knows what it takes to improve. I mean, he was perhaps the only individual of his era without any ninjutsu or genjutsu. So hard work is in his DNA essentially. But yeah, I would say he definitely more than likely spars Neji very
It's
prevalently.
just a lot of substantiation, unfortunately. Like Lee is flat out admitting inferiority the whole time to Neji
Yeah.
and praising him, whatever. Same thing with Guy, and he's literally their sensei, has the most credit. He knows their strengths and weaknesses, the whole nine. Does he obviously have more favorable tendencies with Lee? Yeah, but that's more of like a student type teacher
Yeah,
relationship, more of
bias.
like because they have, yeah, like similar, yeah, bias. But when it comes to the power aspects, he's always been like super like just straight on or whatever. Um, this is what it is. Like they're all precious to him. At the end, those are his students. He's not going to treat it any more differently as it is.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I know damn well Guy ain't capping and not being biased or anything, because if he really was, then he'd be saying some outrageous shit like, "Oh yeah, Lee doesn't need the gates to beat Neji." Like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, or he
Yeah.
could take him. Like, no, he's not doing any bullshit like that.
He's
If
objective
anything,
enough. Yeah.
yeah. If anything, he says something when it actually makes more sense, right? Whether if you believe it's the third or fourth kid or not. But now he's starting to talk about whatever about because he knows how powerful Neji is as well. Like shit, fucking Kakashi at that same point in time flat out said, yeah, like our current Sasuke as of now can't do fucking shit to this guy. I mean, this guy's no joke, whatever, well, you name it. Like, so like, it is a thing. And then most importantly, like even if when you analyze the retrieval arc, Neji, like flat out, is the only one in the Konoha 12 group that was able to make the Spider-Man dude just concede close combat because of his speed and taijutsu. Like he didn't do that with any of the other squad members except for Neji. That just goes to show how fucking fast and dangerous he is and close to hand-to-hand combat, right? And then you see Lee, same dude comes on, mind you, he's not even fully recovered, just came out of surgery and shit. And Gar even reinforces and says, like, you were way faster and sharper when you fought in the tuning exams against me. So this is a weaker Lee, technically. And that same Lee is over here, like, doing arguably better than fucking QB Naruto fucking was doing against the Bone Dude, right? And like putting up a fight where even the Bone Man acknowledges him and says, "Wow, like he's actually, very impressive, like in comparison to the others. Like he actually views him as a threat, not fucking Naruto and shit, Like Lee and Neji were always hold to a pretty very high regard, and Guy knows that. He acknowledges that. Like they were even hold back to even hone their skills even further and further, etc. So like overall, like I don't know, like with the whole Neji and Lee dynamic, I feel like it was very straightforward and pretty heavily shown that Neji was always above, and that it took Lee to get to these points. Um, and obviously with him being more intelligent, having all the ninjutsu, like the whole nine, right? It just makes a lot of logical sense. Neji was always superior until Lee just gets those Super Saiyan fucking amps. That's just really what it is. But
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah. With that being said, though, we'll probably dip. Now I didn't realize we've been on for 3 hours.
Oh yeah, it's a long stream.
Yeah, long stream. Appreciate the walkie-talkie. Hopefully, we do get the debate soon. I'm prepared already. So whenever you guys are down,
Yes,
we
sir.
can definitely make that happen.
Go to
Yeah.
conversations though, man. Seriously,
Yeah,
I had
fire
a lot of fun. It was
conversations.
great.
Yeah,
Definitely.
hopefully loser Kamui over here doesn't fall asleep next time.
No, yeah, we definitely gotta make that happen. But we hope you folks enjoyed. We'll catch you next
No,
time.
Ode, he got hit by that Totsuka blade. That's what happened. Internal sleep.
I love it.
Oh, shit.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right.
Peace, man.
All right.
Peace.
Peace, man.